Chapter 671. Why can't I? Chuli asked. Chief Zhu smiled bitterly. To be honest, head chief, the ladies of the Verdant Cloud brothel, are very arrogant. They have to make appointments early. I guess Miss Yuqing already has an appointment. The Verdant Cloud brothel won't break the rules. Chuli said, Today is not the day for tomorrow. Chief Zhu was still hesitant. Chuli frowned. Still not enough. Chief Zhu said embarrassedly, I heard it needs to be 3 days in advance. Chuli said, 3 days? As expected of the Verdant Cloud brothel. Chief Zhu said carefully, We can use the imperial residence's name to suppress it. At most, it can be 1 day in advance. If you want to see Miss Yuqing, I'm afraid it'll be the night after tomorrow. Chuli pondered. 3 days. Fine, I'll give it a try. He would not look for Prince Bao again. He already owed Prince Bao many favors after redeeming 2 people. These favors had to be returned. It was not easy to return Prince Bao's favor. His identity was too sensitive and could easily attract trouble. Yes, I'll go now. Chief Zhu nodded. It'll be best if I can see Miss Yuqing in person, Chuli said. Yes. Chief Zhu nodded. He turned and left the courtyard. He left the imperial residence of King and went straight to the Verdant Cloud brothel. The Verdant Cloud brothel was located in a residential area. He came to an inconspicuous residence and passed the invitation to 2 protectors. Dusk had arrived. 2 red lanterns were hung in front of the residence. It looked no different from the other residences. The 2 young protectors glanced at it and realized it was Chief Chu Li of the imperial residence of King An. They thought for a while and asked Chief Zhu to wait. They had to pass it to the chief first and let him arrange it. They could not make the decision. Chief Zhu nodded in understanding. He was in charge of receiving guests. Of course, he knew the rules. He stood quietly at the side. It was already dusk, but the place was not as crowded as he imagined. He stood there for 15 minutes. Only 1 guest came in. It was a carriage. It stopped in front of the main entrance, and 2 middle-aged men came out of the carriage. Chief Zhu knew all the important people in the fairy's capital. He could tell at a glance that these 2 were famous imperial princes. One was the youngest son of Prince Bao, while the other was the youngest son of Prince Kong. Both of them were of high status, but they were usually low-key. Normal people would not recognize them. The 2 of them recognized Chief Steward Zhu. They stopped in their tracks and sized him up. You're the chief of Prince An's imperial residence? Prince Bao's youngest son, Lung Shaoxi, asked. Lung Shaoxi's body was tall and slender, like a jade tree in the wind. He was handsome and cold, as if he was 1,000 miles away. Greetings, Crown Prince Shi. Chief Zhu cupped his fist and bowed. Greetings, Crown Prince Shan. The youngest son of Prince Kong, Lung Shoshan, smiled and said, Could it be that Prince An is here too? What a rare visitor. His stature was shorter than Lung Shaoxi by a fist. His body was straight, his long face was handsome, and he had an unruly smile on his face. Chief Zhu hurriedly shook his head and said, Shitzi Shan is mistaken. His Royal Highness is cultivating in seclusion and is not in the residence. It is the head chief who wants to come to Verdant Cloud brothel to meet a lady and sent a visiting card in advance. Oh, head chief, is it Chuli? Lung Shoshan turned his head and smiled. 9th brother, we've only heard of head chief Chu's name, but we've never seen him before. Lung Shaoxi said, What's there to see? Lung Shoshan smiled. Aren't you curious? I'm not curious. Let's go in. Lung Shaoxi walked in, while Lung Shoshan followed closely behind. He said to Chief Zhu, Tell your head chief to find a time to have a drink together. Yes. Chief Zhu quickly cupped his fist and answered. He secretly let out a sigh of relief. These princes were not to be trifled with. They did not have any goals. They only wanted to eat, drink, and be merry. They had no heart for achievements and liked to let their emotions affect their decisions. If they did not like someone, they would always find trouble with that person and treat it as a pleasure. Although the head chief was wise and powerful, if he were to offend them, there would be endless trouble. After a while, the protector from before came out and smiled at Chief Zhu. Miss Yuqing seems to have taken a liking to the head chief. She has already rejected today's guest and invited the head chief over to meet her. Ah, Chief Zhu said in surprise, is it really tonight? That's right. The young protector handed over an invitation and smiled. This is the invitation. You can bring it over tonight. Thank you, thank you. Chief Zhu was overjoyed. He quickly cupped his fist and thanked him. The young protector quickly waved his hand and smiled. Chief Zhu, you're too kind. We don't have much to say. It's Miss Yuqing's own decision. Chief Zhu, please go back and ask the head chief to come over as soon as possible so that Miss Yuqing won't have to wait for too long. Yes, yes, yes. Chief Zhu took the invitation and thanked him again. He then rushed back to Chu Li's courtyard. When he returned to Chu Li's courtyard, he realized that he was not there, so he went to the Tianshu courtyard. When Chu Li arrived at the Tianshu courtyard, Xiao glanced at him and continued reading, ignoring him. She was dressed in a bluish-white gown. Her satin hair shone with a dark light. Her jade-like face was cold. Chu Li smiled as he sat in front of the stone table and faced her. A faint fragrance wafted into his nose. He smiled. Why is the lady here? Aren't you staying for a few more days? I can stay if I want and leave if I want, Xiao said coldly. Do I need to ask for your permission? Chu Li smiled at her. Xiao scoffed. Even if I want to ask for permission, I need to see her first. Chu Li said, I've been busy in Crouching Bull Mountain for the past few days. Now I finally have a clue. Humph, Crouching Bull Mountain, Xiao said disdainfully. Why do you care about that small sect? It's so weak. They say they're a first-rate sect. In my opinion, it won't take long. Within 100 years, they'll fall to a second-rate sect. I'm aiming for the surpassing state. Chu Li smiled. If we have the surpassing state, the High Duke's public house can nurture their own masters. Isn't that great? You're always thinking of something good. Xiao sneered. Do you think Crouching Bull Mountain will listen to you? Chu Li said, I'm the next hill master of Crouching Bull Mountain. It won't be long before I'm in charge of Crouching Bull Mountain. Xiao rolled her eyes at him. Chu Li smiled. How about we go to Spirit Crane's Peak tomorrow? You're still thinking about Spirit Crane's Peak. Xiao scoffed. I thought you'd forgotten. Chu Li smiled and shook his head. Xiao glared at him and scoffed. What's wrong with King'an? Where's his shadow? Before Chu Li came, she was extremely angry. She decided not to be nice to him. Once they met and said a few words, her anger dissipated. I'll find a place to hide and isolate myself. I'm afraid I'll be crippled by the Amethyst Mountain again, Chu Li said. Xiao pursed her lips and smiled. Head Chief. Chief Zhu's voice rang. Chu Li thought to himself that Elder Zhu was being silly today. He scoffed. Come in. Chief Zhu entered carefully and handed over the invitation. Head Chief, Miss Yuqing has rejected tonight's guest. She's inviting you to meet her tonight. Yes, I know. Chu Li took the invitation and glared at him. Chief Zhu was hesitant outside. He knew he shouldn't come in at this time. However, after some thought, he decided to come in and report as soon as possible. If not, the head chief would still complain if he delayed. Xiao sneered. Chu Li coughed. Chief Zhu, you may go. Head Chief, do you want to prepare a carriage? Chief Zhu said. I'll prepare it now. Chu Li waved his hand. I'll go myself. You may go. Chapter 672. Co sure waited for Chief Zhu to leave before she glanced at Chu Li and sneered. You're in a good mood to go to the verdant cloud brothel. Chu Li said, I have business to attend to. What business to discuss at the verdant cloud brothel? Co sure said impatiently. The verdant cloud brothel is similar to the new moon brothel. Every one of them is a beauty. Don't forget to come back. Chu Li said, It's about the Amethyst Mountain. This Miss Yu Qing is a disciple of the Amethyst Mountain. Didn't I tell you? Oh, that's Xue Qing. Co Shure's expression softened and scoffed. The Amethyst Mountain is not a good place. What do you have to talk about with them? Chu Li shook his head and sighed. It's a long story. I'll tell you when I come back tonight. Go, go. Co Shure waved her hand and said. Chu Li stood up and left the imperial residence of King An. He went to the verdant cloud brothel and handed over the invitation. A young protector quickly brought him to an elegant courtyard, the Qingyu courtyard. After he entered the courtyard and closed the door, a delicate maid welcomed him with a gentle smile and led him to the living room. The sound of a guzheng echoed in the courtyard. Miss Yu Qing was dressed in a peach-red robe. She was focused on playing the guzheng and did not seem to notice his arrival. Chu Li sat in front of her and took the teacup from the maid. He nodded at her and quietly watched Yu Qing play the guzheng. Yu Qing's temperament was pure and gentle. Chu Li could not help but think of the first girl he had fallen in love with. Chu Li felt as if he had returned to his student days in his past life. He felt as if he had fallen in love with that innocent female classmate on campus. The sound of the guzheng slowly stopped. Yu Qing put down her fair hand and looked up at him. Chu Li smiled and nodded. Thank you, Miss Yu Qing. Yu Qing shook her head. Rather than meeting some common people, I'd rather meet the head chief. Chu Li smiled. I'm the common person. There won't be any trouble if I let Miss Yu Qing see me as a joke and reject the guest tonight, right? I don't know. Yu Qing shook her head and smiled sweetly. Trouble is the verdant cloud brothel's problem. It has nothing to do with me. Chu Li had always been cold to her, and he did not seem to like her very much. Standing in the crowd, she could often attract the gazes of men. No matter what kind of men they were, they would cast their gazes at her. Even if they didn't like her that much, they wouldn't hate her either. She knew that she had a unique temperament that could captivate men. Chu Li, on the other hand, had kept her at arm's length from the very beginning. She had tried to be close to him, but she had not been able to move his heart at all. Later on, he heard from Sister Bailan that he might have fallen in love with the Ji dynasty's #1 beauty, Co Sure. That was why he had acted this way. She was no longer as angry, but she was unable to complete the sex mission, so she was unable to get in touch with him. Chu Li smiled. I don't come here for no reason. I'm here for the Amethyst Mountain. Yu Qing was taken aback. Chu Li smiled. Did Miss Yu Qing think that I don't know who you are? Yu Qing's eyes flashed, but her face remained calm. She smiled and said, What do you mean, head chief? Chu Li asked, Don't you want to know when I discovered your identity? Yu Qing stared at him with her bright eyes. She wanted to see if he was lying to her. Seeing that Chu Li's eyes were clear and his expression sincere, She knew that he was telling the truth. She smiled and shook her head. I don't understand what you're saying, head chief. Chuli chuckled and did not say anything else. He lowered his head and drank his tea. The house became quiet. The incense burner emitted a faint fragrance. The house was warm and elegant, making people feel relaxed and peaceful. Yu Qing's thoughts turned quickly. She recalled Chu Li's every move and action. In the end, she concluded that he had discovered her identity. She put down her teacup elegantly and smiled. Head chief, please tell me, when did you discover my identity? I think I've done my best. Others can't tell that I know martial arts. Chu Li put down his teacup as well. He smiled and sized her up. His eyes were clear as if he was looking at a fresh flower. The first time I met you, I realized that there was something wrong with you. Miss Yu Qing, you're definitely not just a courtesan from the Verdant Cloud brothel. Head chief, you have sharp eyes. Where did I expose myself? Yu Qing shook her head. Chu Li shook his head. Nothing. It's just a feeling. I'm sure you know where I came from. Glory'sville Courtyard. Yu Qing nodded. Chu Li said, I feel that you're not an ordinary person. It's better to stay away from you. It won't be that difficult to investigate again. I've fought with the disciples of the Amethyst Mountain before. May I know which peak you're from? Head chief seems to have a deep understanding of the Amethyst Mountain. Yu Qing was surprised. Ordinary people did not know that the Amethyst Mountain had 12 peaks. They only thought that the Phantom Een Peak was the Amethyst Mountain. For hundreds of years, only the disciples of the Phantom Een Peak left the mountain. The disciples of the other 11 peaks did not leave the mountain. Even if they did, they would usually hide in the same way as Yu Qing. Chu Li smiled. I only know that the Amethyst Mountain has 12 peaks, the Phantom Een Peak and the Nature Manifestation Peak. I don't know the rest, so I can't guess which peak you're from. The Ethereal Peak, Yu Qing said. Chu Li nodded slowly. He looked disappointed. Head chief, is there anything? Yu Qing asked, Are you looking for someone in the Amethyst Mountain? Chu Li shook his head. I wonder if the Nature Manifestation Peak of the Amethyst Mountain still has an inheritance. Of course. Yu Qing nodded. The inheritance of the 12 peaks will not be broken. Head chief, are you thinking of joining the Nature Manifestation Peak? She smiled as she finished speaking. She was as beautiful as a flower. Chu Li shook his head. I want to cultivate the Nature Restoration Manifestation. How do I do it? Yu Qing's eyes flashed. She looked at him in surprise. Bang! A muffled sound came from outside. It was the maid's soft voice. Young Master Xiao, Lady Xiao has a guest. Humph, I'd like to see which distinguished guest it is. A cold voice was heard. It was followed by hurried footsteps. He rushed across the courtyard, pushed open the door, and entered the living room. He saw Chu Li and Yu Qing. Yu Qing frowned slightly. She looked at the young man in displeasure. The young man was about 20 years old. He was not handsome, but he was angular. He had a tough temperament. One look, and you could tell that he was a tough and straightforward person. His eyes swept over Yu Qing. He then looked at Chu Li. Who are you? Yu Qing frowned. Young Master Xiao, please conduct yourself with dignity. The young man scoffed. Yu Qing, you lied to me about not feeling well just because of this guy? This is my distinguished guest, Yu Qing said. Although I'm not feeling well, he has to see me. Oh, you can't see me, but you can see him. I'd like to know who he is. The young man was displeased. What kind of important person is he? Chu Li had no intention of speaking. He sat there quietly. This made the young man even angrier. He felt that this guy retreated when faced with a problem. It was not the behavior of a real man. A man like this was not worthy of standing in front of Yu Qing. Yu Qing said, "Young Master Xiao, no matter who it has nothing to do with you. You should go back." Chapter 673. Yu Qing's beautiful brows furrowed. As she stared at him unhappily, she said sternly, "Young Master Xiao, this is the Verdant Cloud brothel. Your father is the privy emissary. Young Master Xiao, you can't just do whatever you want, lest you bring trouble to your father." Xiao Heng's mind cleared, and his expression became more restrained. He continued to stare at Chu Li and said, "All right, I appreciate Miss Yu Qing's kindness. Before I leave, I just want to know who this person is." Chu Li said, "I'm Chu Li." Xiao Heng frowned as he thought about it. He stared at Chu Li's face before his gaze finally landed on his white robe. He felt that the name was familiar, but he did not know where he had heard it before. It must be his first time meeting this person, but why did it sound so familiar? He was definitely someone important. He was confident in his family background. As long as he was not from the royal family, he did not care if he provoked him. Even if he was from the royal family, as long as he was not someone like King Jing, who had the potential to unify the country, or Prince Bao, or Prince Kong, there was nothing to worry about. Since his surname was Chu, there was nothing to worry about. He scoffed. "Chu Li looks like he's not a nobody. Miss Yu Qing, what does he have that makes you look at him so highly?" Yu Qing shook her head. "Young Master Xiao, you've misunderstood. Head Chief Chu and I are not selfless. We're just good friends." Chief Steward Xiao. Xiao Heng suddenly remembered. Head Chief Chu Li of the Imperial Residence of King, an Centurion of the Secret Guardians Hall. When he thought of this identity, his aura weakened. If he could provoke the Imperial Residence of King, and his father would not say anything. However, the Secret Guardians Hall could not be provoked. They were the sharpest knife in the Emperor's hand. These people were the most sinister and pervasive. It would not end well to be targeted by them. His father did not want to provoke them either. "What's going on?" A cold voice came from outside. The maid quickly said, "Imperial Prince Shi, Imperial Prince Shan, young Master Xiao is here." Footsteps could be heard. Lung Xiaoxi and Lung Shoshan walked over slowly. They saw Xiao Heng and smiled. "Xiao Heng, you're here to see Yu Qing again? You're quite diligent." "Ha ha." Xiao Heng smiled stiffly. "Prince Shi, Prince Shan, why are you standing at the door? Aren't you going in to sit? Did you get chased out by Miss Yu Qing?" Yu Qing came to the door and curtsied. Crown Prince Shan." Lung Xiaoxi waved his hand and looked at Chu Li. "Oh, there's a guest. Xiao Heng, are you here to cause trouble?" He saw through the situation at a glance. It was not the first time Xiao Heng had done something like this. Xiao Heng scoffed. "I had an appointment with Yu Qing tonight, but Yu Qing suddenly said that she wasn't feeling well. In the end, she came to see this head steward Xiao. I was so angry that I came to take a look. Head Chief Xiao." Lung Xiaoxi and Lung Shoshan looked at Chu Li. Chu Li stood up and closed fist saluted. Chu Li greets the two imperial princes. Lung Xiaoxi and Lung Shoshan looked at him curiously. Chu Li's reputation in the fairies' capital was shocking. The first reason was that he was a first-grade martial artist despite being a chief steward. Moreover, he was so young, which was truly astonishing. The second reason was that he showed no mercy to the imperial family's disciples. He did not fear them at all. He beat and scolded them when he needed to, without any misgivings. This also won everyone's admiration. Everyone felt that Chu Li had helped them vent their frustrations. Most of them were envious and jealous of the imperial family's disciples. The most important reason was that his martial arts was top-notch. He was faintly the number one among the younger generation. He was even more famous than Fa Yuan from the Tempest Temple. Even those who had never seen him before would have heard of his name. Chu Li looked at the two of them calmly. I've heard of your name for a long time. I finally get to meet you today. Miss Yiqing, are we disturbing you? Lung Shoshan laughed. It is my honor to have Imperial Prince Shan here. Xueqing pursed her lips and smiled. She took a step back. The two Imperial Princes, please sit. Young Master Xiao, you too. Xiao Heng shook his head, awkwardly. He felt uneasy. There's no need to sit. We won't disturb you, Lung Shoshan smiled. Chu Li, although we are also Imperial family's disciples, we are not satisfied with Lung Tao and the other juniors. These people should be taught a lesson. Don't worry, we mean no harm. Chu Li smiled and shook his head. I'm impulsive. When I'm angry, I don't care about anything else. I've caused a lot of trouble. Everyone thinks that I'm brave, but it's actually because of my temper. It has nothing to do with courage. I was afraid after the incident. Ha ha. Lung Shoshan laughed. You're still afraid? Ha ha. What Chu Li did was not because he was afraid, but because he was fearless. Otherwise, he would not have done those things. The number of people in the Ji dynasty who had the guts to do that could be counted on one hand. Chu Li liked Chu Li's courage and heroism. Chu Li smiled in response. Chu Li, did you really become a grandmaster without learning any martial arts in 2 years? Lung Shoshan asked curiously. Did you really get the Cloud Slashing Treasure Manual? Chu Li shook his head. I don't have that luck. Maybe I'm more suited for martial arts. As for the Cloud Slashing Treasure Manual, the disciples from the 4 major sects have seen it. They know that I didn't get it. That's true, based on the 4 major sects' behavior. Once they know you have the Cloud Slashing Treasure Manual, they will definitely fight for it. Lung Shoshan nodded. But you're really good. 2 years. I was still struggling in acquired mastery. Lung Xiaoxi said, let's talk another day. It's time to go. Yes, let's drink and chat another day. We'll talk about how to deal with Lung Tao. Lung Shoshan smiled. The two closed-fist saluted and left the house. Xiao Heng did not know whether to leave or stay. In the end, he scoffed and glared at Chu Li before turning around and leaving. The door closed, and the house became quiet again. Yu Qing sat in front of a low table. Chu Li sat in front of a low table as well. The two of them sat across from each other. The faint fragrance in the house calmed them down. Yu Qing stared at Chu Li. Head Chief, did you say that you want to cultivate the nature restoration manifestation? Chu Li nodded. Yes, I wonder if I can get it? Of course. Our sect is different from the other 3 sections. A disciple does not have to learn martial arts to enter the sect. As long as their potential and character are suitable, they can be accepted as a disciple. I have to enter the Amethyst Mountain? Chu Li frowned. Yu Qing nodded lightly. The nature restoration manifestation is the heart technique of the nature restoration manifestation. Head Chief, do you think it can be taught to outsiders? I can enter the Amethyst Mountain. Chu Li shook his head and smiled. I'm old, and with my current identity, can the Amethyst Mountain rest assured? Yu Qing said, our sect's motto is to accept all rivers into the sea, so there are 12 peaks. As long as your potential and character are good enough, you can be accepted as a disciple. There are not too many concerns. Head Chief, if your potential and character pass, you can become a disciple of the Amethyst Mountain. Chu Li was silent for a while. If I'm not a disciple of the Amethyst Mountain, is there a way to cultivate the nature restoration manifestation? Impossible. Yu Qing shook her head. The nature restoration manifestation will never be taught to outsiders. This is the only way. Her eyes were clear as water. Head Chief, You don't want to become a disciple of our sect? The disciples of the Amethyst Mountain help each other. If anything happens, the sect will protect and support us. Many people want to enter, but can't. Chuli sighed and shook his head. He was alone. It was not impossible for him to enter the Amethyst Mountain. Back then, Shao Qi wanted to send him into the Amethyst Mountain. Chapter 674. If he entered Amethyst Mountain, what would happen to Xiao Shi? Would he have to abandon everything, abandon Xiao Shi and the Secret Guardians Hall's mission, and enter Amethyst Mountain? In the beginning, he took care of Xiao Shi to help Xiao Qi, but now it was no longer just to help Xiao Qi. If he entered Amethyst Mountain, what if Kingen regained his martial arts and caused trouble for Xiao Shi during this period? Who would stand up for her? Even with the Sarira beads, it was not foolproof. No matter how he thought about it, he could not enter Amethyst Mountain. He was actually fascinated by the four major sects, just like how people who never went to university felt about universities in his past life. His cultivation level came by luck. He lacked a systematic and solid foundation. He came from an unorthodox background. Even if he read all the books in the High Duke's public house and King Anne's imperial residence, he still could not hide the shortcoming of not having a solid foundation. No matter how smart or powerful he was, without sufficient knowledge, he would still make too many mistakes, sometimes fatal mistakes. Just like Xiao Qi, if Lu Yurong did not remind him, he would still be foolishly kept in the dark, not knowing that Xiao Qi would leave this world once she became an enlightened master. To enter the enlightened master's boundary, a solid foundation was crucial. Why did only the four major sects send out enlightened masters, but not the other sects? There must be a reason. If he did not enter the four major sects, it would be much harder for him to become an enlightened master. If he entered the four major sects, it would be much easier. Head Chief Xiao. Yu Qing saw his uncertain expression and called out softly. Chuli looked up and smiled at her. Entering Amethyst Mountain, I have to think about it. Yu Qing smiled. What are you hesitating for, Head Chief? This is a once-in-a-blue-moon opportunity. Even though the head chief is a grandmaster, grandmasters are still different. The difference is like heaven and earth. Only by joining the four major sects can you go further. If the head chief doesn't join now, you'll definitely be surpassed by Fa Yuan in the future. Chuli nodded thoughtfully. Yu Qing asked, What's the problem, head chief? Chuli shook his head. I'll think about it. Miss Yu Qing, I'll take my leave first. All right, then think about it. This is a rare opportunity. There are very few disciples in Amethyst Mountain. Not everyone can join, Yu Qing said softly. Chuli smiled, closed fist saluted, and left. When he returned to the imperial residence of King, he saw that the Tianshu courtyard was brightly lit. Shao Shi was playing the guzheng in the courtyard. The sound of the guzheng was faint, and the atmosphere was majestic. He strolled into the courtyard. Xiao Shi glanced at him, but her hands did not stop moving. When the song was over, she pressed the chords and looked at Chu Li. You're back so early? Didn't you have a few drinks with the beauty? Chu Li sat by the stone table and grunted. He took the teacup from Menglan and took a sip. Xiao Shi noticed his odd expression. Is something bothering you? Chu Li shook his head and looked at her thoughtfully. Xiao Shi touched her beautiful face. What's wrong? You're acting weird. Chu Li smiled. What if I join another faction to cultivate and leave for a year and a half? How does that sound? Which sect should I join? Amethyst Mountain. He wants you? Xiao Shi chuckled. You're dreaming. I almost joined the Amethyst Mountain. Chu Li said, if it wasn't for the person whom the third lady asked to go into isolated cultivation, he would be a disciple of the Amethyst Mountain by now. I've heard about it from my sister. Xiao Shi said, You're really unlucky. There are many benefits to being a disciple of the four major sections. It's much better than being in the House of High Dukes, and even better than being here. With your aptitude, who knows how many of those martial arts you'll be able to cultivate? Chuli shook his head and smiled. Fate is unpredictable. He thought he had missed out on the Amethyst Mountain. He did not expect to go one big round and come back. Co sure said, "You want to go in again?" "I'm afraid not. When you reach the Grandmaster's boundary, your martial arts foundation has already been fixed. There's no room for change and no potential. Why would they accept a disciple like you?" "I can go in," Chuli said. Co sure burst into laughter. Her beauty was shocking. She rolled her eyes. "You have a deep grudge with the Amethyst Mountain. Moreover, you're rank 1 and a centurion of the Secret Guardians Hall. It's impossible for you to be loyal to the Amethyst Mountain. Why would the Amethyst Mountain want you? I have my ways." Chuli smiled. Co sure smiled. "All right, then go." Chuli said, "I really have a way to enter the Amethyst Mountain." "Then go in." Co sure said, "You'll be able to get in touch with martial arts knowledge that you wouldn't be able to see in the outside world. If you learn these, you'll be able to go further in the future." "Sister's elder has come out of isolation?" Chuli shook his head. "That person is really unreliable." Co sure scoffed. "But it's also because you advanced too quickly. If it was someone else, breaking through to the Grandmaster's boundary wouldn't take more than 2 to 3 years." Chuli said, "If I enter the Amethyst Mountain, what will happen to you, my lady?" "Me?" Co sure scoffed. "Do you think I can't live without you? I'll just live my life as I should." Chuli shook his head. "I'm really worried." Co sure said, "Don't you have the Sarira prayer beads? If there's any danger, I'll call you back. Moreover, you have divine powers. You can come back at any time." "If I'm not here, Princeton will definitely be restless." Chuli frowned. Co sure scoffed. "If you're not here, maybe he won't have a knot in his heart. He won't do anything that goes too far." Chuli shook his head. How could it be so simple? Princeton kept finding trouble with him. Although it was because of his inner demons, more importantly, it was because of benefits. He wanted to get rid of his relationship with the E-Public House and get rid of the obstacles on his path to the throne. It was not just a matter of personal feelings. Co sure rolled her eyes at him and scoffed. "All right, isn't he an isolated cultivation? If he's about to come out, you can just cripple him." Chuli laughed and slowly nodded. This was the only way. The Secret Guardians Hall is very troublesome. Chuli sighed. Information from the Secret Guardians Hall was very important. It was not important now, but it would be very useful in the future. Moreover, once a secret guardian, he would always be a secret guardian. It was impossible to leave. This is troublesome. Co sure nodded. She also understood the situation of the Secret Guardians Hall. It was impossible to quit. In his situation, the Secret Guardians Hall would never agree to it. Then forget it. Chuli sighed. The Secret Guardians Hall was just an excuse. If it really did not work, he could fake his death. He had been struggling and hesitating. Logically speaking, he should have joined the Amethyst Mountain without hesitation and cultivated the nature restoration manifestation to break Co Chi's inner state and regain her heart. However, he was struggling in his heart. He did not want to leave this place and go to the Amethyst Mountain. The root cause was Co sure. He was really worried about Co sure being alone. She did not know martial arts. As the daughter of the High Duke's public house, many martial arts masters wanted to assassinate her. Although Zhu Tianhua and the others were strong, they could not guarantee success. His eclipse purloin technique was getting harder and harder to perform. If she died, he could not perform the eclipse purloin technique. What should he do? Co sure said, If he really can join the Amethyst Mountain, he can't let it go. Chu Li smiled. Let me think about it. What's there to think about? Xiao sure said impatiently. If you want to become an enlightened master, you must enter the 4 major sections. Until now, other than the emperor, there is no enlightened master who is not from the 4 major sects. Xiao Shi continued. For thousands of years, there have been countless geniuses. It's not that there are none who are smarter than you. However, those who did not enter the 4 major sects, no matter how talented they are, did not become enlightened master. Do you want to walk the most difficult path instead of the easiest one? Chapter 675. P.S. 6 update complete. Xiao sure was annoyed. You don't listen to me anymore. Looks like you have to talk to my younger sister. Chu Li said, she doesn't want to see me now. What are you guys doing? Xiao sure asked. Chu Li shook his head. Let's talk about it in a few days. It's getting late. You should rest. Looks like you really can visit the Amethyst Mountain. I'm telling you, don't be stupid. If you don't grab the opportunity, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Chu Li nodded, waved his hand, and left the Tianshu courtyard. The next morning, Chu Li laid on his bed and did not want to get up. Lung Qiu and Lung Qing were already practicing their swordsmanship in the courtyard. The sound of the swords whistling could be heard. The 2 women were progressing very quickly. Their mastery of the first form of godly sword was getting better. He laid on the bed and looked at the algae well on the roof. His thoughts were wandering. Head Chief. Chief Zhu's voice came from outside the courtyard. Chu Li got up from his bed and said, Come in. Chief Zhu pushed the door open and entered the courtyard. He closed fist saluted the 2 women and came to Chu Li. Chu Li scoffed. How dare you come here? He. Chief Zhu said embarrassedly, Please forgive me, Head Chief. This time, it's Miss Yu Qing's invitation again. Chu Li raised his eyebrows and took it. Chief Zhu chuckled. His expression was a little strange. He showed a look of admiration. Head Chief, are you going to redeem Miss Yu Qing? Chu Li laughed. How dare you? Go do what you have to do. Ha! Then I wish Head Chief success. Chief Zhu chuckled and cupped his fists before leaving. Lung Qiu and Lung Qing glanced over. They obviously heard it. Chu Li said, Don't be distracted when practicing your swordsmanship. Otherwise, your energy will not be pure. It's useless even if you practice. Yes, Lung Qiu and Lung Qing replied. They rolled their eyes and continued practicing. A bright moon hung in the sky like an ice wheel that revolved slowly, and it emanated clear radiance that covered the ground. Chu Li came to the verdant cloud brothel and handed the invitation to the protector. The protector glanced at it and smiled. Miss Yu Qing has told us to invite Head Chief Chu as soon as you come. You're welcome. Chu Li nodded and slowly walked into the courtyard. Then he followed the path he took yesterday to the small courtyard. The maid welcomed him into the living room. Yu Qing was dressed in a jade green gown. Her face was snow white, and her eyes were as gentle as water. She was quietly reading a book. Hearing the footsteps, Yu Qing put down her book, stood up and curtsied. Head Chief, sorry to disturb you. Chu Li smiled. Not at all. I'm the one who should be flattered. Xue Qing said, I've already conveyed the head chief's intentions to the sect. The sect welcomes the head chief. Chu Li smiled bitterly and closed fist saluted. But I really can't split myself up. I can't enter Amethyst Mountain. Head chief, please sit down and talk. Yu Qing personally brewed some tea, brought it to him, and sat down in front of him. The 2 of them sat on opposite ends of the low table, separated by 2 steps. She said softly, Actually, there is a way to make an exception. Chu Li was surprised to see her. Yu Qing said, Not all of our disciples are on the mountain. Many of them are at the foot of the mountain. However, the disciples on the mountain are usually able to cultivate in peace, while the disciples at the foot of the mountain are usually busy with mundane tasks. They are not focused enough on their cultivation, so their cultivation is slightly weaker. Chuli nodded slowly. Yu Qing said, "Other than the 12 peaks, there are also the obvious and hidden sects. They are entangled with the 12 peaks." "I'm all ears." Chuli leaned forward. He could feel the importance that Amethyst Mountain placed on him. They were indeed eager to accept him into the mountain. The main reason was that he could see through the Phantom skill, and he was the best candidate to cultivate the Phantom skill. His achievements would definitely surpass others. The obvious sect disciples walk the martial arts world with the identity of Amethyst Mountain disciples. As for the hidden sect disciples, they conceal their identity and hide in the world. They observe the mundane world and cultivate in secret. They only appear at the crucial moment and conceal their identity again. The hidden sect and the obvious sect. Chuli nodded thoughtfully. This was new to him. The obvious sect disciples are those who enter the dojo. They represent the face of Amethyst Mountain. As for the hidden sect disciples, they don't have to enter the dojo. Even if their cultivation is insufficient, they can leave the mountain and cultivate slowly, Yu Qing said. Chuli said, "Miss Yu Qing, your cultivation is sufficient to leave the mountain." Yu Qing shook her head. "Not enough. I couldn't enter the dojo." Chuli sighed. "Miss Yu Qing is a hidden sect disciple." "Yes, the hidden sect disciples make up the majority. There are only a few obvious sect disciples," Yu Qing said. "If you really can't give up everything here, you can become a hidden sect disciple first." Chuli was deep in thought. This was a good idea. Amethyst Mountain was indeed extraordinary. In order to attract talents, they would do anything to attract talents. How could such a broad-minded sect not prosper? "How about it?" Yu Qing asked. "Do you want to join my sect?" Chuli asked, "How do I cultivate?" "You can enter the mountain or not," Yu Qing said. "It's best to enter the mountain. But if you don't want to, you can impart your martial arts outside the mountain. There will be a specialized teacher coming." Chuli nodded slowly. Footsteps could be heard from outside. The maid's voice was heard. "My lady, Senior Shen is here." "Invite Senior Shen in," Yu Qing said hurriedly. She stood up and went out to welcome him. Soon, she brought in a handsome but dull middle-aged man. His eyes were deep and sharp, as if he could see through people. Chuli looked at him. He vaguely felt that he looked familiar, but he had never seen him before. "This is Masters Junior Shen," Yu Qing said. Masters Junior Shen Su. Chuli was stunned. He had a photographic memory. Once he heard the name and the identity of Amethyst Mountain, he immediately knew who he was. Shen Su was the person Shao Qi wanted to ask. She wanted him to guide him into Amethyst Mountain. In the end, Shen Su was in isolated cultivation and delayed. Shen Su looked at Chuli and asked, "How is young Qi?" "Your third ladies?" Chuli asked. "Her uncle," Shen Su said. Chuli nodded. No wonder he looked familiar. It was because he looked like Shen Yinghu. "Then Senior Shen Yinghu is my second sister," Shen Su said. Chuli quickly closed fist saluted. "Greetings, Senior Shen." Shen Su said, "No need for formalities. I just came out of isolated cultivation and found out about you. I came to guide you into Amethyst Mountain." "But Chuli said. Shen Su shook his head. "Before I went into isolated cultivation, I already reported to the sect leader. The sect leader has agreed to let you enter the sect. It's not too late for you to come now. It's all my fault. I didn't expect my isolated cultivation to be so long. It delayed your cultivation. Chu Li said, I can't leave the fairies' capital. I need to cultivate in the imperial residence of King, and that's easy. I'll personally teach you martial arts. You want to learn the nature restoration manifestation, right? Shen Su said. Chu Li nodded. Shen Su said, what a coincidence. I'm a disciple of the nature peak. Chu Li looked at him doubtfully. How could there be such a coincidence? Shen Su said, what's the use of learning the nature restoration manifestation? This martial art isn't powerful enough. It's not suitable for defeating enemies. I advise you to learn something else. Chu Li shook his head. Shen Su said, then I'll train first. I'll find a time to go back and learn other martial arts. Chapter 676. Shen Su smiled and nodded. You and the Amethyst Mountain are connected by fate. After such a long delay, it's good that you didn't miss it. Yu Qing smiled sweetly. Junior brother Chu, we're a family from now on. Congratulations. What's senior sister Yu Qing's name? Chu Li smiled. Yu Qing replied, Mo Qingyu. Why is senior sister Mo here? Chu Li looked into the house. Mo Qingyu smiled. Junior brother Chu, are you looking down on me? Chu Li replied, not really. I just feel that it's too unfair to senior sister Mo. How can an Amethyst Mountain disciple stay in a place like this? Mo Qingyu shook her head and smiled. Shen Su said, Chu Li, now that you've entered the sect, you should know that the Amethyst Mountain has 12 peaks, and each peak has its own unique martial arts. There are all kinds of cultivation methods, and most of them cannot be cultivated on the mountain. This is the fundamental difference between the Amethyst Mountain and the other 3 sections. Chu Li nodded thoughtfully. Shen Su said, disciples of the ethereal peak have the ethereal heavenly heart. They need to be able to see through people's hearts and have a unique understanding of their evil and unpredictability. Only then can they understand the ethereal heavenly heart. The disciples of the ethereal peak are the best at hiding their cultivation level. Mo Qingyu's ethereal heavenly heart is only a small success, yet you can still sense something off about her. Her qualifications are indeed very suitable for the Amethyst Mountain. Chu Li smiled. Senior sister Mo is not here just to cultivate, right? Mo Qingyu pursed her lips and smiled. Of course, I'm also here to accumulate merits to cultivate the martial arts of the other 11 peaks. Shen Su said, you can cultivate the martial arts of all 12 peaks, but other than this peak, the heart techniques of the other 11 peaks require sufficient merits to cultivate. Chu Li pondered. I'm a disciple of the nature peak now. If I want to cultivate the ethereal heavenly heart, I have to accumulate enough merits. This system was a great stimulus for the disciples. They could not bury their heads in cultivation. They had to contribute to the world. Yes, Shen Su nodded. But other than the Phantomine Peak, all disciples can cultivate the martial arts of the Phantomine Peak. It's almost the representative martial arts of the Amethyst Mountain. Everyone has to cultivate it. The martial arts of the Phantomine Peak are the strongest. The martial arts of the Phantomine Peak are the weakest among the 12 peaks, but they are also the easiest to master. Shen Su shook his head and sighed. The martial arts of the other 11 peaks have always been difficult to cultivate. Now that the spiritual qi has dispersed and the world has changed, it has become even more difficult. Fortunately, we have the Phantomine Peak. Mo Qingyu smiled and said, take my Misty Peak's Misty Heavenly Heart mantra, for example. If you don't have talent, you won't be able to master it, even if you practice hard for a lifetime. Once you've mastered it, the human heart will become the heavenly heart, and you won't be disturbed by the outside world. You'll be able to advance very quickly when you practice martial arts, and your brain will become more and more useful. Chu Li asked, how does senior sister Mo accumulate credit? Junior brother Chu, you're from the Secret Guardians Hall? Of course you know. Mo Qingyu cast a sidelong glance at him. The customers of the Verdant Cloud brothel are either rich or of high status. The information they provide is hard to come by. This information is just scratching an itch through my boots. It's not that important. Chu Li shook his head. The truly important news would not be reported to the Verdant Cloud brothel. Instead, they would usually hide in the secret rooms at home. However, these could be found out by the Secret Guardians Hall. Therefore, the information that Mo Qingyu gathered was not that important. It was difficult to gain credit. Mo Qingyu smiled. I'm also in charge of finding talented disciples to recommend to the sect. I'm also in charge of inspecting them. In short, I have many things to do, so I don't have to worry about having nothing to do. Chu Li asked, does the sect have any goals? Shen Su shook his head and sighed. There's only one goal now, and that is to surpass the Tempest Temple. Enlightened Master? Chu Li asked. The sect wants to create an enlightened master. Yes, Shen Su nodded. You're one of our hopes. You're able to suppress Fa Yuan, and you have unique qualifications. You're most suitable to cultivate the martial arts of the Phantom Yin Peak. If you train well, you might be able to defeat Fa Yuan in the future and take back your position as an enlightened master. Chu Li shook his head and smiled. You think too highly of me, Shen Su said. As long as there's a sliver of hope, the sect will put in a lot of effort. Otherwise, why would they be so accommodating to you? I've been in the Verdant Cloud brothel for a few days and carefully investigated your information. I didn't expect you to come by yourself. If you didn't come, we would have taken the initiative to look for you in 2 days. It's obvious that you're fated with the Amethyst Mountain. You're born to be a disciple of the Amethyst Mountain. What a coincidence. Chu Li smiled and nodded slowly. I know how to use my heart. If it were not for Shao Qi's firm state of mind, he would not have thought of cultivating the nature restoration manifestation, nor would he have taken the initiative to look for Mo Qingyu. Therefore, the wonders of the world really frightened him. He felt as if there was an invisible hand manipulating him. Heaven's will was unpredictable. The sect wanted to create an enlightened master, and he wanted to become one as well. Both of their goals were the same. Previously, he only wanted to learn the nature restoration manifestation, but now he had gained more recognition from the Amethyst Mountain. He turned his head and smiled. Senior sister Mo, we're a family from now on. We have to help each other. Mo Qingyu pursed her lips and smiled. I'll have to rely on you, junior brother Chu. Chu Li shook his head. Let's help each other. Shen Su said, the Amethyst Mountain has 2 basic rules. The first is that disciples of the same sect are not allowed to kill each other and must help each other. The second is that the martial arts of the Amethyst Mountain are not allowed to be taught to outsiders. There are no other rules. Let your senior sister explain it to you in detail. I'll teach you the heart technique today. Chu Li said, Senior Shen can just stay in the imperial residence. Shen Su shook his head. You're a disciple of the hidden sect. Don't let anyone discover your identity. I've stayed here for a while, and it's time for me to leave lest something unexpected happens. Chu Li did not say anything else and nodded. Mo Qingyu said, Masters Junior Shen, Junior Brother Chu, let's go to the quiet room at the back. She personally led the 2 of them out of the living room and into a room at the back of the courtyard. Then she left. It was a very narrow room, apart from a bed. There was nothing else in the room. It was clean and tidy. There's no need for an induction ceremony. You just have to swear to abide by the rules of the Amethyst Mountain, Shen Su said. Chu Li obeyed and swore an oath, then looked at him seriously. Shen Su's expression was serious. He said, The nature restoration manifestation is different from normal martial arts. It's actually a technique of deduction. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. Shin Su continued. This technique is difficult to learn, and the difference in power is like heaven and earth. Some people, after mastering it, have shocking power. They can see through opportunities and are invincible. Some people, after mastering it, can barely avoid danger. Chu Li was even more curious. What kind of mystical technique was this? Everything comes from one element, and everything returns to one element. Everything comes from the heart. Every word and action, every movement and every stillness are all driven by the heart. They are all the things in the heart. Shin Su's expression was serious. Chu Li frowned. Could it be the Buddhist mind reading? If that was the case, there was no need for him to learn this. His omniscient mirror had this ability, which could point directly to the heart. Chapter 677. Chu Li nodded slowly. The nature restoration manifestation can't be like the eye of insight, can it? Yes. Shin Su nodded. You can't see other people's thoughts, but you can feel them. It's a mysterious feeling. You'll know after cultivating it. The nature restoration manifestation is only average for me, but it might work for you. You're much smarter than me. Chu Li smiled and shook his head. Senior Shun, you're too humble. You should call me master. Shin Su shook his head. I never lie. I'm as honest as I can be. Listen to the incantation. He recited a part of the incantation. Chu Li listened carefully. Shin Su asked him to repeat it, and Chu Li repeated it word for word. Shin Su nodded. If you can't memorize it after 3 times, you're not suitable to cultivate this technique. Remember it in one go. It's indeed suitable for this technique, and it'll be very powerful. I'll explain it to you in detail. Chu Li nodded and listened attentively. Unknowingly, an hour had passed. Chu Li had no more questions, and all that was left was to cultivate. Shin Su took out a sparkling white statue from his bosom. It was the size of a palm, and it was lifelike. It was a statue of a Taoist in a feather robe. His handsome face had a smile on it, and his steps were light and graceful. This is the legacy item of our nature peak. Shin Su said, without this, you can't cultivate even if you get the heart technique. He passed it to Chu Li. Hold it and start cultivating. See if you can get started. Chu Li took it. It was warm to the touch, but there was a hint of heat. It was like jade, but not jade. The material was strange. He knew it was not jade the moment he touched it. It was so hard that swords could not leave a mark on it. Touching the white statue, he closed his eyes and started cultivating the heart technique. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth flowed along a strange path. It was a path that he had never thought of before. As he was cultivating, a burning force entered his body from his palm, merging with the flowing spiritual energy. After one circulation, his mind lit up. Suddenly, a space appeared in front of him. It looked like the small house he was in. As the manifestation of nature restoration continued to circulate, waves of scorching aura seeped into his body. The small house first appeared in his mind, then himself, and then Shin Su. The Shin Su in Chu Li's mind was staring at him. His brows were slightly furrowed, his eyes were clear, his lips were slightly pursed, his shoulders were slumped, his hands were clenched into fists, and the muscles on his back were tense. He looked at him eagerly, as if he was about to speak at any moment. Chu Li could not see what was going on in Shin Su's mind, but he could feel that he was very nervous. Shin Su wanted nothing more than to help, and he was ready to explain the incantation at any time to help. This was indeed a mysterious feeling, as if everything was under his control. He was very clear about what Shin Su was going to do next. How is it? Shin Su saw him open his eyes and quickly asked, Chu Li smiled and said, I've seen you and me in my mind. Does that mean I've mastered it? He is indeed a genius. Shinsu nodded his head and said, Yes, I've mastered it. Next, I'll have to improve bit by bit. When I reach the deepest level, I'll be able to see further, see more, and see deeper. Chu Li nodded. Thank you, Senior Shin. Now I can be considered to be your master. Shinsu said, Your previous master taught you Dharma, I taught you martial arts. We have nothing to do with each other. Yes, thank you, Master. Chu Li shook his head and smiled as he closed fist saluted. He was not used to it. His master was Master Skyleaf from the Temple of Autumn. He had gone back a few times, and now that he was still alive, it was time for him to go back and visit. Sigh. Shinsu shook his head and sighed. It's not that I want to force you to call me master. It's just that I have no other choice. Now, only you and I are left in the peak of nature. Chu Li was stunned. Shinsu shook his head and sighed. The martial arts of the peak of nature is difficult to master, and its power is average, so there are very few disciples. Other than the disciples from other peaks, you're the only official disciple. Chu Li smiled bitterly. Is it that difficult? It requires too much talent. Shinsu shook his head and said, If I hadn't eaten a miraculous fruit when I was young, I wouldn't have been able to master it. Chu Li looked at him curiously. Shinsu said, Back then, eldest sister obtained an ancient ruin, and this miraculous fruit was left there. There were 2 of them. I ate one and gave the other to young Chi. Chu Li nodded slowly. He guessed that this miraculous fruit was used to strengthen the soul. However, although Shinsu's soul was strong, far stronger than ordinary people, it could not stop his omniscient mirror. It was far from Shaoqi's. It might have something to do with the technique he cultivated. Shinsu said, Fortunately, there's you. The peak of nature is not destroyed. After I die, you'll be the peak leader, and the most important thing will be the same as me, to find a successor and pass down the nature restoration manifestation. Chu Li smiled. It's still too early for that. Shinsu said, That's true. Those who can cultivate the nature restoration manifestation have a long life. It's fine to live up to 300 years. All right, it's not suitable for you to stay for too long. Go back. Master, you're leaving? Chu Li asked. He was not used to the word master, so it was a little stiff. Shinsu nodded and said, I'll leave immediately too. If you have time, come back to the mountain to take a look. Yes, Chu Li closed fist saluted. When he returned to Tianshu courtyard, it was already late at night. Xiao Shi was still awake, pacing in the courtyard, obviously waiting for him. Seeing him return, Xiao Shi said unhappily, You're finally back. Chu Li smiled. From today onwards, I'm a disciple of the Amethyst Mountain. Xiao Shi looked at him in surprise. Chu Li told her what happened, and Xiao Shi was shocked. You're a disciple of the Amethyst Mountain now? Xiao Shi said in disbelief. That's too fast and too easy. She knew how difficult it was to enter the 4 major sections. Many geniuses wanted to enter, but were rejected. Before they could enter, they had to go through countless tests and at least 3 years of observation before they could finally step into the sect. Chu Li, on the other hand, entered without a word. Moreover, he had too many disadvantages, so why would the Amethyst Mountain agree? Chu Li smiled and said, Because my qualifications are good enough, and they're thirsty for talent, so we hit it off. The most important thing is that the 3rd lady's uncle is now my master. Uncle? Xiao Shi was surprised. Chu Li looked at her expression and did not know Shinsu's identity. Xiao Shi shook her head. Sister's mother's identity is sensitive. Father had given a strict order not to talk about it, so I really don't know what siblings she has. I didn't expect her uncle to be a disciple of the Amethyst Mountain. Chu Li said, "Why didn't the third lady enter the Amethyst Mountain? It must have something to do with the sword scripture that she cultivated," Xiosher said. Chu Li nodded. The regal sword scripture was powerful enough, so there might be more to it. He would ask when he had the chance. "You want to go to the Amethyst Mountain?" "Not now. I'll go when I have time in the future." "Then what's the difference between you and not entering the Amethyst Mountain?" "There's no difference." Chu Li smiled. "I don't have to go anywhere." Xiosher secretly sighed in relief. She said it nicely, asking Chu Li to enter the Amethyst Mountain and not care about her, but she was feeling melancholy. If he really left, she could not stay in the imperial residence of King any longer. It would feel like a year, now that he was not leaving, staying in the imperial residence of King, and was quite comfortable, even though he was busy all day, and only came back at night. Chu Li said, "I can finally have some peace and quiet. I want to focus on my cultivation in the imperial residence, and not care about worldly affairs." Chapter 678. The next morning, the air in the courtyard was exceptionally fresh. One breath would make one feel light. Chu Li was cultivating the crouching bull punch in the courtyard, while Lung Qiu and Lung Qiu were practicing their swordsmanship. Footsteps could be heard from outside. Qin Jin's voice was heard. "Centurion?" Chu Li asked, "What is it?" Qin Jin said, "Something big happened in town." Chu Li stopped his fist technique and left the courtyard. He saw Qin Jin and the other three standing outside the courtyard. "Centurion, the fifth prince of Prince Kong was murdered." Qin Jin said softly, "The magistrate is looking for the murderer." Chu Li frowned. "The fifth prince? Prince Kong has 6 princes, right?" "Yes," Qin Jin said. "The 5th and 6th prince of Prince Kong don't do anything. They only eat, drink, and play. The other 4 princes are very capable. Prince Jiang was assassinated last night. He doesn't have any official position, right?" Chu Li frowned. Qin Jin nodded. "He doesn't have any official position. He just eats, drinks, and plays." "Is there any progress?" Chu Li asked. Qin Jin shook his head. "There is no progress at all. The magistrate is so worried that he can't sleep. Prince Kong and the Emperor are keeping an eye on it. This case will probably end up with the Secret Guardians Hall." "Let's go." Chu Li walked out. When they arrived at the May Air courtyard, Dong Qifei, Yang Zongwen, and the others were at the martial arts field. When they saw him enter, they came over to greet him. Chu Li waved his hand and said, "Go about your business. Yang Zongwen, come over." Yang Zongwen responded. Dong Qifei, Qin Jin, and the others returned to the martial arts field. Yang Zongwen followed Chu Li to the main hall and reported, "Centurion, is it about the 5th prince of Prince Kong? What happened?" Chu Li sat on the armchair. Yang Zongwen shook his head. "It was a very precise and clean assassination. It was a fatal blow. The weapon used was a long and narrow treasure sword. It's an unusual weapon. It's not in the martial arts world, so we couldn't find any clues. Moreover, the assassination happened in the middle of the night. There were no pedestrians on the street. Prince Jiang and his followers were killed. Even their horses were killed." Chu Li said, "Judging by this technique, who do you think you are?" Yang Zongwen thought about it and shook his head. "I really can't think of anything. The case is still in the hands of the prefectural magistrate, but according to our calculations, it will be transferred to our residence sooner or later. Our May Air courtyard has the Centurion and the 3 Ning brothers, so we have long had the hope of snatching this case." Chu Li smiled. Yang Zongwen said, "The Centurion hasn't been here for a while, so there's a lot of gossip in the residence. If we don't perform a meritorious deed and suppress them, everyone's days will be difficult." "Oh, Chu Li raised his eyebrows. Yang Zongwen looked around and said in a low voice, "The second in command has already recovered. He came over yesterday and was very picky about everyone, so we could only invite the centurion over." Chu Li scoffed. "Why should I listen to him? After all, he is the deputy head. If we don't listen, he can punish us." Yang Zongwen said, helplessly, "The manor is governed by military law." Chu Li scoffed. "Where is he now?" "He went out for a stroll." "He has a lot of connections," Yang Zongwen said. "He doesn't want to stay here either. Everyone doesn't give him any face." Chu Li nodded slowly. "Help me investigate Miss Yu Qing from the Verdant Cloud brothel. Don't let anyone know. Investigate in secret. Miss Yu Qing?" Yang Zongwen quickly nodded. "Yes, I will do it immediately." Chu Li said, "Oh, right, let's not get involved in this assassination case." Yang Zongwen was confused. Chu Li shook his head. "This case is too complicated. It's better not to get involved. But Imperial Crown Prince Jiang doesn't seem to be a big shot." Yang Zongwen was even more confused. "I don't think he has any powerful enemies. It should be a personal dispute, right? Maybe it's a dispute within the royal family. The magistrate is afraid of it, but the secret guardians' hall is the least afraid of it." Chu Li shook his head. "Don't get involved. If others want to snatch it, let them." "Yes." Yang Zongwen nodded, helplessly. Just as Yang Zongwen retreated, he saw Ma Kuan swagger into the May-Air courtyard. He raised his voice and said, "Where is everyone? Where the hell did they go?" The people in the martial arts field looked at each other, helplessly, and came over to greet him. Chu Li usually did not pay attention to this. Sometimes he would let them come over to greet him. Most of the time, he would just wave his hand after entering, indicating for them to continue with their own cultivation. However, according to the rules, they had to come over to greet him. Although Ma Kuan's attitude was bad and arrogant, he was in the right. They had no choice but to obey. Chu Li's voice suddenly came from the house. He said coldly, "Second in command Ma is so impressive." When Ma Kuan heard this voice, his expression changed slightly. Chu Li scoffed. "Come in. What are you waiting for?" Ma Kuan glared at Qin Jin and the others and strode into the living room. Chu Li sat on the armchair and sized Ma Kuan up. When Ma Kuan came in, he closed-fist saluted. "Centurion." Chu Li looked at him. "Have you recovered from your injury?" Ma Kuan's expression was gloomy, but he slowly nodded. "Thank you for your concern, Centurion. I have recovered." Chu Li said, "I think you've recovered from your injury and forgot about the pain. You want to do it again, am I right?" Ma Kuan's face was cold, and he did not say a word. Chu Li said in a low voice, "Why are you showing off in front of them? If you're so capable, then show off in front of me." Ma Kuan's face was gloomy, and he did not speak. He scoffed to himself. "If I have a higher position than you, I'll make you wish you were dead every day." Chu Li said, "How about this? I see that you're bored out of your mind. Help me look into something." "Please instruct me, Centurion." Ma Kuan closed-fist saluted helplessly. Chu Li scoffed. "Last time, the cloud-slashing treasure manual caused the destruction of a few second-rate sections. I suspect that there's a mastermind behind this. It could also be the G Public House, or it could be the G Public House working together with someone else. It could even not be the G Public House. Investigate this thoroughly." "Yes." Ma Kuan nodded happily. He knew that if he hesitated, what awaited him would be another round of beatings. The wisest thing to do was to be honest and agree without hesitation. Chu Li said, "There's no one in the courtyard to help you. Think of a way yourself." "I'm afraid I can't do it alone," Ma Kuan said hurriedly. Chu Li looked at him. You have a lot of connections. What can't you do with such a small matter? It's decided. I'll give you a month to investigate. Yes, Ma Kun said in a low voice. He was furious, but there was nothing he could do. Chu Li was already being lenient. He only sent him out and did not want to see him. If it was a more difficult task, Ma Kun would not be able to handle it. If he did not know what was good for him, it would be another more tiring and difficult task. Chu Li nodded in satisfaction. Very well, you can leave today. Yes. Ma Kun closed fist, saluted, and turned to leave the main hall. Dong Qifei and the others saw Ma Kun walk out with a cold face and left straight away. They let out a long sigh of relief. It seemed that the centurion had taught him a lesson again. They would have good days ahead of them. Chu Li also left the secret guardian's hall and returned to the imperial residence. He concentrated on cultivating the nature restoration manifestation. The more he cultivated, the clearer his mind became. His reaction became faster, and his thoughts became more agile. He was stronger than before. He knew 10 things just by hearing one. He knew the wind just by seeing the leaves move. This strange feeling made him feel indescribably comfortable. Everything was under his control, and he could do it with ease. He truly had the pearl of wisdom in his hands. 10 days passed unknowingly. The progress of the nature restoration manifestation was extremely fast. He had already passed the first level and reached the second level. He could see more clearly, and the range was larger. Chapter 679. Chu Li vaguely felt that when he cultivated the nature restoration manifestation to its peak, he could foresee the existence of the omniscient mirror made it easy for him to cultivate the nature restoration manifestation. The first step of observation was the most difficult to cultivate. An ordinary person's eyes and spirit were limited, so it was impossible for them to see the other party's every move. The less they could see, the more inaccurate their deduction would be. The omniscient mirror reflected everything in front of him, clear and flawless. This way, the deduction would be more accurate. He gradually entered a good state and ignored the mundane matters, completely immersing himself in his own cultivation. However, his cultivation was interrupted by an invitation. It was an invitation from the verdant cloud brothel, but it was not from Mo Qingyu. It was from Miss Ji Xueqing. He sat in the living room and looked at the invitation, thinking about Yang Zongwen, who came to report about Miss Yu Qing yesterday. After the investigation by the secret guardians hall, they did not find anything strange about Miss Yu Qing. One of the top courtesans of the verdant cloud brothel, she did not know martial arts, was pure and arrogant, and refused to meet vulgar people. She only met some regular customers, and it was almost impossible for strangers to meet her. Through investigation, the secret guardians hall found all of Miss Yu Qing's customers, and his name was on the list. Chu Li looked at the list and found that Mo Qingyu had done it flawlessly without any flaws. It seemed that senior sister Mo could not be underestimated. She was shrewd and powerful, and it was not easy to hide from the secret guardians hall. The reputation of the Amethyst Mountain was not just for show. Her ethereal heavenly heart technique might be a technique to stabilize one's state of mind. She could always maintain a state of mind and not be disturbed by emotions, so she could always remain calm and intelligent. She would not make mistakes, and when she fought, her emotions would not be affected, and her judgment would not be affected. He had never seen Miss Ji Xueqing before, so how could she give him an invitation? It was a great honor for a lady from the verdant cloud brothel to send an invitation. There was almost no one who did not go, or else he would not be able to maintain his elegant demeanor. No man would let go of such an opportunity. Chu Li shook his head and laughed, but he did not plan to attend the banquet. Chief Zhu's voice came from outside. Head Chief, there's another invitation. Chu Li said, send it in. Chief Zhu opened the door and closed fist saluted at Lung Qiu and Lung Qing, who were practicing swordsmanship. Chu Li glanced at it and nodded thoughtfully. That was right. Chief Zhu said, it's best not to reject Crown Prince Shi's invitation. If we want to redeem Miss Yuqing, we can't offend Crown Prince Shi. Crown Prince Shi has deep connections in Luoyang. We can't afford to be careless. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. Chief Zhu said, Head Chief, think about it. There are so many high-ranking officials and nobles who want to spend their time at Verdant Cloud Brothel, but there are only so many ladies at Verdant Cloud Brothel. It's not enough at all. It depends on each person's reputation, and Imperial Crown Prince Shi's accommodation is a favor. Chu Li nodded and smiled. Old, you've improved a lot. Chief Zhu smiled embarrassedly and said, I was just thinking blindly. I know you can think of this. That's not necessarily true. Even a wise man would make a mistake sometimes. Moreover, I'm not a wise man. You're right. I really have to attend the banquet tonight. Chu Li said. Chief Zhu hurriedly said, Then should we prepare guards and attire? There's no need for that. I'll go by myself. Chu Li shook his head. Yes. Chief Zhu agreed and tactfully excused himself. Chu Li held the two invitations and chuckled. Imperial Crown Prince Shi was also a powerful person. He wanted to open the New Moon brothel in the fairies' capital because of this. There were many smart people in the world, and Imperial Crown Prince Shi was one of them. Verdant Cloud Brothel was owned by Prince Bao in name, but Imperial Crown Prince Shi was probably the real owner behind the scenes. Chu Li handed over the invitations. Before the protector could go in to report, Lung Xiaoxi and Lung Shoshan came out of the main door and greeted him with a closed fist salute. Chu Li was surprised. He returned the greeting with a closed fist salute. Head Chief Chu, let's talk in the courtyard. Please. Lung Xiaoxi spoke calmly and coldly. Even when he was being polite, he gave off a sense of arrogance. Chu Li smiled and nodded. He entered Ji Shui courtyard with the two of them. Miss Ji Shui courtyard was a pure and bright beauty. She was only slightly inferior to Xiao Shi, but she was already a rare beauty in the world. Mo Qingyu was pure and beautiful. She had a gentle temperament and a mysterious aura around her. Ji Shui courtyard was even brighter, making people feel closer to her. The four of them were sitting at a square table. Ji Shui Su held a pot in her hand and filled the white jade cups for the three of them. She also filled a cup for herself. Lung Shoshan laughed. Come, Head Chief Chu. I've heard so much about you. I'll drink first to show my respect. He drained his cup in one gulp. Chu Li smiled and drained his cup as well. He did not need to look into Lung Shoshan's mind to know what was going on. It was none other than Lung Shoujiang's death. Yang Zongwen had reported to him. As expected, the magistrate could not solve the case and could only hand it over to the secret guardian's hall. Head Chief Chu likes Miss Xueqing? Lung Shoshan smiled. Chu Li shook his head. I'm just trying to relieve my boredom. I don't have any other intentions. You don't want to redeem Miss Xueqing? Lung Shoshan chuckled. From what I know, Head Chief Chu has already redeemed the two ladies for someone else. Ninth Brother's heart is aching for them. He looked at Lung Xiaoxi as he spoke. Lung Xiaoxi said, Every single one of the girls was carefully selected and trained. We spent a lot of effort to ensure that their temperament and nature would not be tainted by the world, so that they would remain pure and kind. I feel reluctant to let go of every single one of them. Ninth Brother protected these ladies very well. He took great care of them. He was worried that they would marry the wrong people. Lung Shoshan shook his head. These ladies have good eyes. They can pick good men. Chuli smiled. Those two friends of mine are worthy of being entrusted with their lives. Zhu Tianhua is fine. As for Han Fei, Lung Shaoxi shook his head. Chuli smiled. Han Fei is passionate, but he won't abandon you. Don't worry, Imperial Crown Prince Sure. I hope so. Lung Shaoxi nodded. Sigh. Lung Shoshan suddenly sighed and put down his white jade cup. Chuli said to himself, Here it comes. He smiled at him. Lung Shoshan shook his head. These days, my father doesn't smile anymore. The atmosphere in the house is very depressing. I don't even want to go back. How can I not be sad when I have to send off my son? Chuli said, My condolences, Your Royal Highness. I'll visit again another day. My father only has one thought in his mind now, and that is to avenge my fifth brother. Lung Shoshan sighed. Knowing that the Secret Guardians Hall has accepted the case, Father sighed in relief. That's because Father has always admired you, Head Chief Chu. He said that you are extremely intelligent, and with your help, you will definitely find the murderer for fifth brother. Chuli said, Prince Bao, you flatter me. I'm really ashamed. The case was accepted by the Secret Guardians Hall, but it wasn't handed over to me. My father doesn't trust anyone else. Lung Shoshan sighed. Chapter 680. Lung Shoshan had an ugly expression on his face. He nodded slowly and sighed. Yes, after such a long delay, even the dumbest murderer would have disappeared without a trace. In the end, it's the governor's incompetence that caused him to miss a golden opportunity. Chuli did not respond. Lung Shoshan could say this, but he could not. As the Centurion of the Secret Guardians Hall, he had a high position. If his words were to spread, it would affect the governor greatly. It would be strange if the governor could break through such an intricate assassination. Lung Shaoxi asked, Can Head Chief Chu take over? Chu Li shook his head. Imperial princes, Mei Courtyard has already taken over this case. If we interfere, we'll be taking credit for it. In the Secret Guardians Hall, credit is everything. Blocking someone's path to wealth is like killing their parents. Doing a good deed will get them money, martial arts, treasured swords, and even other rare treasures. If we take their credit, it'll be a life and death feud. Sigh, it's already been 5 days, and there's still no progress in the Secret Guardians Hall. I'm afraid there's no hope. Lung Shoshan shook his head and finished his drink. Father's mood is getting worse. I think he can't hold it in any longer. Head Chief Chu, this won't become an unsolved case, right? Lung Shaoxi asked. Chuli looked at him and smiled bitterly. He shook his head without saying a word. Lung Shoshan and Lung Shaoxi immediately understood that they were right. Is there no other way? Lung Shoshan asked unwillingly. Chuli said, We can only rely on Mei Courtyard's ability. They're the most elite in the residence. There might be hope. However, Imperial princes don't have too much hope. 10 days. The clues that can be found have already been found. The ones that can't be found will never be found. So he shook his head and stopped talking. Lung Shoshan said, hatefully, Are we just going to let the murderer roam free? My fifth brother died. For nothing. Lung Shaoxi said, The governor is an idiot. I think the Secret Guardians Hall doesn't live up to its name. Chuli smiled bitterly. Imperial Prince Sure, there's a limit to a person's strength. How can everything go smoothly in this world? Everyone wants to catch the murderer, but the murderer is one step ahead. It's just like martial arts. If you meet someone stronger than you, you can only blame your bad luck. Head Chief Chu, I think if you take action, you'll definitely be able to find the murderer, Lung Shaoxi said. Up until now, none of the cases that you've handled have not been solved. Why didn't you take over this case? Chu Li said, after all, I've just arrived here. I'm a junior in the Secret Guardians Hall, so it's not good for me to be in the limelight. Moreover, the Mei courtyard is indeed full of elites. I might not have been able to defeat them even if I fought them, so I didn't manage to snatch it away. It's rare to see such a contribution. Prince Bao's power was immense, and he was deeply trusted by the emperor. If he could gain Prince Bao's gratitude, there would be countless benefits in the future. He was an example. There were things that other people could not do, such as the redemption of the Verdant Cloud brothel's lady. Princeton could definitely do it, and he could do it. If Father personally asked to hand the case over to the Mei courtyard, would that work? Lung Shoshan asked. Chu Li smiled bitterly. Based on Prince Bao's reputation, since he has spoken, the Secret Guardians Hall will obey. Lung Shoshan sighed. I know. Head Chief, you will still become enemies with Mei courtyard. Chu Li did not say anything. Instead, he picked up the white jade cup and drained it in one gulp. But I really have no other choice, Lung Shoshan said, seeing Father getting older day by day. As his son, I have no other ability. I can only sacrifice my reputation to beg you, Head Chief. Lung Shaoxi said, Head Chief Chu, if you can help, please help. Chu Li smiled bitterly. To be honest with the two imperial princes, when this case came out, I decided not to touch it. When it was handed over to the Secret Guardians Hall, the Mei courtyard did not fight for it. It was obvious that it was dangerous. Is there anything that you're afraid of, Head Chief Chu? Lung Shaoxi asked. Chu Li shook his head. I have enemies everywhere. I really don't want to make any more enemies, or else it would be a great sin to implicate the imperial residence of Prince, and Lung Shoshan frowned. You're saying that the person who tried to assassinate my fifth brother is a powerful person? Chu Li said, It's purely an intuition, it's hard to say. The two of them nodded. Chu Li said, I owe His Royal Highness 2 favors. I've been looking for a chance to return them, but this time, it's really not a good time to return the favor. If something goes wrong, I might even lose my life. I wouldn't dare to act recklessly. It's that dangerous? Lung Shoshan asked. Chu Li said slowly, If not, why wouldn't I help His Royal Highness? Rather let His Royal Highness blame me for being cold-hearted. The two of them remained silent. Sigh, looks like my fifth brother's life is like this. I don't know what my father will do. It's really not good to have this depressed feeling in his heart. Lung Shoshan sighed helplessly and drank another cup. Lung Shaoxi looked at Chu Li. He did not say anything. Chu Li had already said this much. If they still forced him to help, it would be too much. Even if they were imperial princes, Chu Li would not listen to them. After a few cups, the three of them changed the topic and talked about the martial arts world. Chu Li talked and laughed until the banquet was about to end. He finally said, How about this? I can personally help you with a little bit of my strength. The two of them perked up and quickly looked at him. Chu Li said, Imperial Prince Shan, make a list of Imperial Prince Zhang's good friends. Then list the people he has been in contact with recently. Then invite the first 6 people to the banquet. 6. Lung Shoshan quickly nodded. All right, I'll invite them tomorrow. Chu Li said, After they come to the banquet, I'll hide at the side. Then I'll ask Miss Ji Shui to send you a message. All right, Lung Shoshan quickly said. Can you find out just like that? Chu Li shook his head. I can only try and see if I'm lucky. Logically speaking, it's someone I know. Thank you, Head Chief Chu. Lung Shoshan closed fist saluted. Chu Li said, I can only help Imperial Prince Shan, and Shi investigate. Consider it my personal help. Please keep it a secret. No problem. The two of them nodded. On the evening of the second day, when the sky was just turning dark, Chu Li had already arrived at the Verdant Cloud brothel. He was directly led by the protector to Ji Shui courtyard. Ji Shui personally welcomed him and gracefully brought him to the east wing. It was an empty room. No one usually stayed there. It was very clean. It was obvious that it was just tidied up today. Ji Shui tactfully did not disturb him and immediately left. Chu Li sat cross-legged on the bed. Just as he was about to cultivate the nature restoration manifestation, footsteps were heard. Lung Shaoxi and Lung Shoshan came over, closed fist saluted, and said that everything was ready, then asked him what he wanted to say at the banquet later. Chu Li smiled. Imperial princes, you can do as you please, say whatever you want to say. There's no need to do it deliberately. There's no need to ask some questions. Lung Shoshan asked. Chu Li shook his head. This will only make people suspicious, of course. There's no harm in asking. It's up to you. That's good. Then I'm not worried. Lung Shoshan said. Lung Shaoxi said, what can you tell? Chu Li smiled. If there's a problem, I'll be able to sense it. I hope we didn't waste our efforts. Lung Shaoxi said. If the 6 people tonight can't do, we'll invite another 6 tomorrow. Chu Li nodded. That's what I was thinking. Lung Shoshan gritted his teeth and scoffed. We must catch that guy. 5th brother cannot die in vain. Chapter 681. When the lanterns were lit, Lung Shaoxi and Lung Shoshan's banquet began. 6 young men were invited. The 6 of them looked different. Some were good-looking while others were average. Their personalities were different too, but their status was similar. They were all young and promising, not rich kids who relied on their families. Lung Shoshan was very friendly. He said that his 5th brother's friends were his friends too. If they had any difficulties in the future, he would help them without hesitation. The 6 of them were very friendly to him. Then they talked about Lung Shoujiang's past. They all sighed, saying that the heavens were jealous of the talented. Good people did not live long. It made them feel helpless and respectful. They were also very angry at Lung Shoujiang's murderer, but they could not do anything. Fairy's capital's governor and the secret guardians hall were investigating, but there were no results. It was obvious that they would not be able to catch the murderer. Lung Shoshan ordered a few bottles of good wine and drank to his heart's content. Under his lead, everyone started to drink. The more they drank, the more they talked, and the more they drank. Lung Shaoxi left quickly. He had a strong personality and was a man of few words. He was surrounded by a serious aura that made it difficult for people to relax. Once he left, the atmosphere at the table suddenly became relaxed, coupled with Snow Ji's sweet smile. The crowd became more lively. Lung Shoshan would occasionally reply and ask about his 5th brother. Snow Ji drank 2 cups of wine and apologized with a smile. She then left the house to wash up. When she returned, she took the opportunity to help Lung Shoshan up the mountain to give him a piece of paper that had been folded into a small square. Lung Shoshan opened it in his sleeve when no one was paying attention. He glanced at it and immediately put it back in his sleeve. He continued to drink with the crowd and casually asked, "Does anyone know about Zhu?" Everyone was stunned and shook their heads in confusion. Sigh. Lung Shoshan shook his head. I heard that this person has a grudge against 5th brother. I don't know if it's true or if he was the one who did it. Who's Zhu Wu? The crowd was still confused. Lung Shoshan sighed. Forget it. Let's not talk about him. He's spoiling everyone's mood. Come, let's drink. He did not manage to get the others drunk, but he got drunk first. When everyone saw him lying down, they also took their leave and quickly dispersed. Lung Shoshan sat up after they left. He channeled his energy a few times and looked at Chu Li with clear eyes. Lung Shaoxi came over too. The 2 of them stared at Chu Li. Head chief, how is it? Lung Shaoxi asked. Lung Shoshan stared at Chu Li nervously. Chu Li nodded. I have some clues. Give me 2 days. I will personally capture the person and hand him over to Imperial Crown Prince Shan. Did you really find a clue? Lung Shoshan hurriedly asked. Chu Li smiled. My luck isn't bad. Maybe it's the spirit of Imperial Crown Prince Jiang helping me in heaven. I'll make a move immediately. Imperial Crown Princes, please do what you need to do. Understood. The two nodded. Chu Li gave a fist salute and left. After watching Chu Li disappear, the two returned to the table and sat down. Head Chief Chu didn't do anything, right? How do you know who the murderer is? Lung Shoshan said in disbelief. You're not just comforting me, are you? Lung Shaoxi said. Doesn't look like it. Lung Shoshan sighed. But this is too strange. Chu Li is very capable. Even Uncle Bao admires him. He must have some strange tricks up his sleeves, or else he wouldn't have such a reputation. Lung Shaoxi said, let's just wait and see. It was originally a hopeless situation, but if he really did find it, it would be a miracle. Sigh, I hope we can catch the murderer. Lung Shoshan shook his head. If we don't catch him, my father will probably go crazy. I don't even dare to talk to him now. His eyes look like he wants to kill. If I say something wrong, he'll kill me. Uncle Bao used to be a decisive person, but as he grew older, he gradually stopped fighting. Lung Shaoxi said, if other people really think that Uncle Bao is old, then they're very wrong. Fifth brother is really unlucky. Lung Shoshan sighed. He actually lost his life. Really? We have to be careful too. Lung Shaoxi said, you have to increase the number of protectors. We can't be careless. If fifth brother was a little more careful, he might not have been killed. Yes, I have 5 more protectors now. Lung Shoshan smiled. But the safest place is the Verdant Cloud brothel. Too bad. We can't stay there forever. You can stay if you want to. Lung Shaoxi said, if you're not afraid of Uncle Bao breaking your legs. His brother had just passed away, but not only was he not sad, he even went to the Verdant Cloud brothel to have fun. If Uncle Bao heard about this, it would be strange if he did not vent his anger on Lung Shoshan. I can't do it tonight. I need to rest. Lung Shoshan quickly said. I'll ask someone to clean up a room. Lung Shaoxi said, send someone to inform the public house. 9th brother is still the best. Lung Shoshan closed fist saluted and smiled. The next morning, Lung Shoshan only woke up when it was almost time for his lunch. He slowly ate his lunch, then chatted with Snow Ji for a while, then followed Lung Shaoxi to the martial arts field to practice. It was already dusk. Just as the two of them were about to end their practice, a protector suddenly came and said in a low voice, Imperial Crown Prince, Head Chief Chu is here again with a horse carriage. He said he wants the horse carriage to come in together. Lung Shoshan and Lung Shaoxi looked at each other. Their expressions changed. Lung Shoshan looked excited. Lung Shaoxi said, let's not go out. Just ask someone to let us in. Yes, yes. Lung Shoshan quickly realized. Lung Shaoxi ordered. Soon, Chu Li drove a normal horse carriage to the martial arts field slowly. He jumped off the carriage and closed fist saluted. Head Chief Chu, who's in this carriage? Lung Shaoxi asked. Chu Li said, it's the murderer who assassinated Imperial Crown Prince Jiang, Zhu Wu. He's really the murderer who killed 5th brother? Lung Shoshan quickly asked. Chu Li said, I'll hand him over to Imperial Crown Prince Shan. As for how to interrogate him, I'm sure Imperial Crown Prince Shi will be able to find him. I won't interfere. Just pretend I never interfered in this matter. Understood. Lung Shaoxi said, I'll find someone to interrogate him properly. Chu Li sighed. Imperial Crown Princes, in my opinion, it's enough to find the murderer. There's no need to dig any deeper. The two of them frowned, looked at him, and finally nodded slowly. They understood what Chu Li meant. The mastermind behind this must be someone powerful. Even if they were imperial crown princes, they could not afford to offend him. Instead, they became more and more curious. Chu Li closed fist saluted. I'll go back first. I won't be accompanying the two imperial crown princes. Stay here for a night. Have a good rest. Lung Shaoxi said. Or go to Miss Yuqing's or stay at Ji Shui's. You can choose one. Chu Li shook his head and smiled. Imperial Crown Prince Sure, thank you for your kindness, but I really have to go back. Let Head Chief Chu go back. Lung Shoshan said. The head chief must be worried about the imperial residence of King, and Chu Li smiled. That's right. All right then, come back in a few days. Lung Shaoxi said. Let's first avenge fifth brother. Chu Li nodded, closed fist saluted, and left. Lung Shoshan could not wait to open the door of the carriage, only to see a short and skinny middle-aged man lying inside. His eyes were shut tight, not moving at all, as if he was in a deep sleep. They knew that his acupuncture points were sealed. Once the acupuncture points were unsealed, he would wake up. I'll call someone over first, Lung Shaoxi said. Interrogate this Juwu. Chapter 682. Lung Shaoxi quickly returned. Seeing that he was in a daze, he patted his shoulder. What are you thinking about? Brother Jiu, do you think we should find the real murderer? Lung Shoshan turned his head to look at him. According to Head Chief Chu, this person is the murderer who killed fifth brother, but he was probably ordered by someone else. Should we find the person? Yes, of course we have to. Lung Shaoxi nodded, looking at Head Chief Chu's expression. I'm afraid he already knows. Lung Shoshan frowned and said, if he doesn't dare to investigate further, why? He is extremely daring. In this world, other than His Majesty and that person from the Great Lane Temple, I'm afraid there's no one he's afraid of. He's not afraid of masters. He's strong enough in martial arts, but he has a weakness too. Lung Shaoxi said, because he's a person who values friendship. Just think about it. You're loyal to your friends. Lung Shoshan nodded. Such a person is worth befriending. Is he worried about Princess Xiao and the House of High Duke? Lung Shaoxi nodded. The E-Public House is different from the past. It seems like there's nothing to be afraid of anymore. That might not be the case. I can't think of anything. Lung Shoshan finally shook his head. After all, he only liked to eat, drink, and have fun. He didn't get involved in national affairs. He only knew about the god's capital and didn't care much about other things. Soon, two middle-aged men in martial attire came over with gloomy faces. They cupped their fists and bowed. Take him away. Cripple his martial arts first, then slowly interrogate him. Lung Shaoxi stared at the two of them and said, just focus on the interrogation. Don't panic if you get any information. If I knew how to kill you, you would be dead already. Yes, Crown Prince. The two middle-aged men replied in a deep voice. Lung Shaoxi said, don't rush. He's a top-notch assassin. He has a firm heart. He won't open his mouth so easily. You have to be patient. I don't have to teach you this. You should understand. Don't worry, Crown Prince. We will be careful. The round-faced young man cupped his fists and said, we will definitely reveal everything he knows. That's good. Lung Shaoxi waved his hand. The two of them carried Ju Wu and left. Lung Shoshan laughed. Ninth brother, why are you keeping these people? They look so creepy and scary. We can't afford to lose these people. Lung Shaoxi shook his head. You don't want to go against others, but you have to prevent others from going against you. Without these people, the Verdant Cloud brothel would have been devoured a long time ago, and I would have died too. You're the Crown Prince. Lung Shoshan said. Lung Shaoxi scoffed. Fifth brother is also a Crown Prince. Lung Shoshan fell silent. The two of them came to Ji Shui's courtyard and listened to her playing the zither. Usually, they were full of praise for Ji Shui's zither skills. Every time, they would be intoxicated, but today, they were absent-minded. Snow Ji was dressed in a light green gown, looking simple and elegant. Her bright eyes flickered, and as she played the zither, her gaze shifted back and forth between the two of them. She didn't ask anything, for she knew that they were definitely involved in some dark matters, and it was best for her not to know. Usually, they would not come into contact with these things. This was to prevent them from being tainted by the darkness of the world. Only with a pure heart could their skills move people. However, they were all exceptionally intelligent women who had seen a lot of people. Their knowledge was also different from that of ordinary people, so they had some vague understanding of these things. When the song was over, she pressed the zither and looked at the two people. She was still absent-minded and did not know that the zither had stopped playing. She continued with the next song. 2 hours passed by unknowingly. She pressed the zither and sat down. She shook her hands and got up to pour a glass of wine for the two of them. The two of them glanced at the door from time to time. Just as they picked up their silver glasses, footsteps could be heard. They quickly put down their glasses and shouted, "Come in!" 2 gloomy middle-aged men walked into the courtyard and appeared outside the hall. "Snow Ji, go out for a while." Lung Xiaoxi turned his head and said. Snow Ji nodded lightly, curtsied, and left. Lung Xiaoxi glanced at the two of them. The round-faced middle-aged man looked left and right, then turned around and closed the door. He then returned to Lung Xiaoxi and Lung Shoshan. "Speak," Lung Xiaoxi said, when he saw the round-faced middle-aged man's actions. He knew that he had found out something important. Zhu Wu's confession was very straightforward. He knew that he was going to die, so he only asked for a quick death. That's why he told us everything he knows. We believe that it's true. The square-faced, middle-aged man said in a low voice. Lung Xiaoxi said, "Who is it?" "The person who ordered him is the Deputy General of King Ping of the Western Border, Sun Zhanha." The square-faced middle-aged man said, "King Ping?" Lung Xiaoxi and Lung Shoshan's expressions changed. The square-faced middle-aged man nodded, but his face was still gloomy. The round-faced middle-aged man sighed. "There's someone in the fairy's capital who helped. It's the military minister counselor, Gu Qi." Lung Xiaoxi and Lung Shoshan's expressions changed again. The square-faced middle-aged man said, "This should be true." Looking at the two imperial princes, the round-faced middle-aged man sighed again. After he succeeded, he immediately escaped. He didn't go to the western border, but to the Ji public house's Ji River Valley. He was captured in the Ji River Valley. "What do you mean?" Lung Shoshan quickly asked, "Could it be that the Ji public house is involved?" The square-faced middle-aged man said, "Zhu Wu can't be sure either." Lung Xiaoxi and Lung Shoshan looked at each other, their expressions ugly. "Rebellion. Why did Zhu Wu kill my fifth brother?" Lung Shoshan quickly asked. The square-faced middle-aged man said, "He was following orders. He doesn't know anything else." "That damn guy." Lung Shoshan slammed the table angrily. "I'll definitely kill him." Lung Xiaoxi asked, "How did he know about fifth brother's whereabouts?" A scribe passed the information to him. The square-faced middle-aged man said, "He wasn't bribed. It might be the work of the minister counselor, Gu Qi." "Damn it! Damn it!" Lung Shoshan gritted his teeth. Just thinking about it made his heart turn cold. The scribe was bribed, their whereabouts were known, and they could kill him if they wanted to. He was no different from fifth brother. His life could be taken at any time. Lung Xiaoxi turned his head and asked, "Should we continue investigating?" Lung Shoshan said, "Ninth brother, what do you think?" "This is a big problem." Lung Xiaoxi frowned. I just don't know why fifth brother was assassinated. He glanced at Lung Shoshan. Lung Shoshan frowned. Ninth brother, you suspect that fifth brother is also involved. It's fine if fifth brother is involved. I'm just afraid that Uncle Kong. Lung Xiaoxi shook his head. No, Lung Shoshan quickly said. Lung Xiaoxi said. Anyway, we have to keep this to ourselves. Zhu Wu must be secretly dealt with, and it has to be done in the Ji River Valley. He glanced at the two gloomy middle-aged men. I don't need to say more about the severity of this matter. The two middle-aged men closed-fist saluted. Watch your mouths. From today onwards, you are not allowed to leave the residence, and you are not allowed to meet outsiders. I won't kill you, but I'm afraid that someone else will. Lung Xiaoxi said in a low voice, I will increase the number of protectors. Yes, Imperial Crown Prince. The two of them said in a low voice. They knew that this was not a trivial matter. If they were not careful, their entire family would be exterminated. Even the descendants of the royal family would not be spared. Lung Xiaoxi remained silent. He was thinking about what he had missed out. Lung Shoshan frowned. Chapter 683. We owe Head Chief Chu too much this time. Lung Xiaoxi shook his head. Lung Shoshan asked, He knows everything? It's hard to say. Lung Xiaoxi looked at the two middle-aged men. The round-faced middle-aged man said, Zhu Wu didn't know how he was captured. He fainted. He didn't see the person who captured him, and no one asked him anything. It's hard to say that he doesn't know. Lung Xiaoxi shook his head. He's in the secret guardian's hall. He's more well-informed than we are. Furthermore, he's very capable. Never mind, let's put this aside for now and stop investigating. Lung Shoshan said hatefully, Does that mean fifth brother died for nothing? Ninth brother? Lung Xiaoxi looked at his stubborn expression. Then there's only one way. Let Uncle Kong handle this. He was hesitant. He couldn't be sure if Prince Kong was involved in this. Logically speaking, if Prince Kong was involved, he should be able to protect fifth brother. However, it could be a warning to Prince Kong, threatening him not to do anything rash. In short, this matter was complicated and unpredictable. It was not advisable to delve too deeply into it and cause trouble for oneself. Fifth brother's death was the best warning. Lung Shoshan sighed. Then I'll talk to father. You talk to Uncle Kong, I'll talk to father too. They're all schemers. Lung Xiaoxi said. We're still too young. All right. Lung Shoshan nodded. Lung Xiaoxi looked at the two middle-aged men. You two go, be careful. Don't worry, Imperial Crown Prince. The two closed-fist saluted and left the house. Lung Xiaoxi rubbed his eyebrows. He felt that this short moment of brainstorming was more than a year. We'll go back first and let father decide, Lung Xiaoxi said. If they don't make a move, we'll do it ourselves. Yes, Lung Shoshan said. Should we kill Zhu Wu first? We must kill him, but we'll have to think about how to kill him, Lung Xiaoxi said. We'll ask father for their opinion. All right. Lung Shoshan nodded. Be careful on the road, Lung Xiaoxi reminded. Lung Shoshan closed-fist saluted and left in big strides. Lung Xiaoxi shouted, Snow Ji! Snow Ji gracefully entered the house. Lung Xiaoxi said, Go and tell Chief Hua to send Miss Yu Qing's contract to Head Chief Chu. Do it quietly. Don't let anyone find out. Snow Ji responded and asked in surprise, Sister Yu Qing is going to redeem herself. Lung Xiaoxi nodded. It's still Head Chief Chu? Snow Ji pursed her lips and smiled. Head Chief Chu has already redeemed 3 of our sisters. Lung Xiaoxi smiled. You want to redeem yourself? He was in a good mood when he was with these pure girls. Of course I want to, Snow Ji said with a smile. But I haven't found anyone I like. What should I do? Then let's wait, Lung Shaoxi said. There will be. Snow Ji secretly rolled her eyes at him, acting dumb. Lung Shaoxi brought along a few protectors and carefully returned to Prince Bao's imperial residence. When he arrived at the martial arts field in the backyard, he saw his father, Prince Bao, slowly practicing a set of fist techniques. Lung Shaoxi waved his hand. The surrounding maids and guards all retreated. The huge back garden was empty, and only the chirping of birds could be heard. On the surface of the lake, not far away, a few sparkling golden fish leaped out and fell back, splashing water everywhere. What's the matter? Prince Bao was dressed in a bright yellow robe. His expression was solemn, and he was not angry. Father, I've encountered a difficult matter. Lung Shaoxi said. Tell me about it. Prince Bao glanced at him indifferently and said, casually. Lung Shaoxi looked around again. Prince Bao scoffed. Sneaky. Luo Qi, all of you leave too. Yes. Someone in the dark replied. Then there was no more movement. Lung Shaoxi was finally relieved. He told his father what happened in a low voice. Prince Bao's brows furrowed, even tighter. He glared at him. Lung Shaoxi's face was cold in front of others, but he was relaxed in front of his father. He said in a low voice, I regret this too, but since it has come to this, I can't stay out of it. I can only ask for your opinion. Father, you're worried that your fourth uncle is involved? Prince Bao saw through his thoughts. Lung Shaoxi nodded lightly. Prince Bao did not say anything. He slowly practiced his fist technique. In the empty backyard, there was suddenly a clear cry. It was a golden eagle that swooped down and landed on the octagonal pagoda. It stood on top of the pagoda and looked majestic. Lung Shaoxi floated to the top of the pagoda and took the bamboo tube from the golden eagle's leg. He then patted the golden eagle's wings and floated back to Prince Bao's side. He handed the bamboo tube to him. Prince Bao kept his fist technique and opened the bamboo tube to take a look. He shook his head and did not say anything. The golden eagle spread its wings and flew. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared into the sky. Father, I'm worried about King Ping. Lung Shaoxi sighed. His military power is too heavy. Everyone knows that the emperor will reduce his power. He might not be willing. At that time, it will be chaos. The matter of reducing King Ping's military power should be kept as far away as possible. Prince Bao said in a low voice, whoever touches it will die. As for this matter, let's leave it to your fourth uncle. He will most likely tolerate it. Prince Bao said, Uncle Kong can tolerate it. Lung Shaoxi was surprised. He knew that he was a shrewd person and could control his emotions well. However, this matter could not be tolerated no matter what. His son was killed. This kind of pain was 100 or 1,000 times more painful than the death of his parents. Who could tolerate it? Your fourth uncle's forte is his forbearance. Prince Bao scoffed. He can tolerate what others can't. However, this revenge will be avenged sooner or later. It depends on how it is done. We don't have to worry about it anyway. Then what should we do with Zhu Wu? Lung Shaoxi asked. We have to be very careful. Leave it to your fourth uncle. Let him think of a way. You have to get yourself out of this. Prince Bao scoffed. Today it was Lung Shoujiang. Tomorrow it might be Lung Shoshan or Lung Shaoxi. Such a daring assassination. If they did not retaliate fiercely and make the enemy pay a huge price, the life of an imperial crown prince would be too cheap. Prince Bao's face did not change, but his heart was boiling with anger. Father, this head chief Chu is indeed worthy of your praise. He is indeed a genius. Lung Shaoxi said. If it was someone else, who would be able to find the murderer? It was a flawless assassination, and it was coordinated by many parties. There were no flaws. Prince Bao replied with ahem and started practicing his fist technique again. I've always been curious. How did he find out? Leng Xiaoxi said. He could find Zhu Wu just by listening to their conversation. Among the 6 people he invited, there was the minister counselor from the Ministry of War, Gu Qi. This person looks ordinary. He is easily overlooked. How did 5th brother become friends with him? Leng Shoujiang was just a playboy. He only knew how to play and play. He almost never participated in the affairs of the imperial court. Logically speaking, he would be looked down upon by the people in the imperial court. It was impossible for Leng Shoujiang to become friends with him. However, they were friends. That was why Prince Bao suspected that Leng Shoujiang was involved. We'll know once we investigate, Prince Bao said, but be careful, don't get found out. This case, should we report this to the emperor? Leng Xiaoxi asked. Prince Bao shook his head. It's best to pretend that you don't know. Yes, Leng Xiaoxi said. Send an invitation to Chu Li. Invite him to the residence, Prince Bao said. Leng Xiaoxi was shocked. Prince Bao said, such a person, you should get closer to him. Chapter 684. P.S. Accumulated fatigue. I've been trying to get rid of it, but I can't. I really can't write any more today. I'm very sorry for publishing it late. Chu Li was cultivating the nature restoration manifestation in the imperial residence of King, and the more he cultivated, the more he felt it was amazing. The more he cultivated the nature restoration manifestation, the more he felt his mind was moving. He felt like he was one with heaven and earth. It was as if he could see every movement around him. Before the wind blew, he could predict it. Before the rain fell, he could predict the rain. He didn't know if he would be able to predict everything if he continued to train like this. He would be like a god who knew everything. Prince Bao's invitation interrupted his cultivation. He sat on the bed in his bedroom. The bright sunlight illuminated the room. Leng Qiu and Leng Qing's cries came from outside. The 2 ladies were sparring. Their swords were sharp. Although they were using wooden swords, it was still painful to be stabbed. No one was giving in. Holding the invitation, Chu Li frowned. When he first heard about Leng Shoujiang's assassination, he had a bad feeling. He felt that it was not as simple as it seemed. His instinct told him to stay away from the case. Although his martial arts was strong, he was not invincible. Not to mention the enlightened masters, there were many grandmasters who could defeat him. He was not afraid, but if he really harmed Xiao Shi and the House of Haiduke, it would be a huge sin. Leng Xiaoxi and Leng Shoshan personally came to beg him. He did not want to agree at first, but half of it was because of Prince Bao's face. Also, he had a good impression of Leng Xiaoxi. The ladies from the Verdant Cloud brothel did not suffer under his hands. So, he did them a favor and did not let the secret guardians hall get involved. This was also for the lives of Dong Qifei and the others. Even if the secret guardians were the emperor's closest subordinates and their identity made people afraid to attack them, it was not that difficult to kill them. After he caught Zhu Wu, he realized that he had underestimated the terror of this matter. It involved the Royal Highness's rebellion, which meant that it was close to death. If he got even a little closer, he would end up in a situation where he would die. Even if he could escape with his martial arts, Chu Li's identity would be ruined. From then on, he would have to change his name and could not live openly in the fairy's capital. When Prince Bao's invitation arrived, it meant that they had gotten a confession and told Prince Bao. Chu Li believed that Prince Bao would not meddle in this matter. After so many years, Prince Bao's ability to conceal his strength and bide his time was extremely profound. Naturally, he would hide as far away as he could from this kind of thing. How could he possibly come forward? One wrong move, and the imperial residence would end up being raided. Thinking of this, He put down the invitation and decided to attend the banquet. The imperial residence of Prince Bao was majestic, far surpassing King An's imperial residence. The land it occupied was about twice the size of King An's imperial residence. The corridors could be ridden by horses, and the lakes could be sailed by boats. They sat in a gazebo on the lake in the backyard, accompanied by Prince Bao and Lung Shaoxi. Other than the three of them, there were no other guards in the back garden. All the secret guards had retreated. Head Chief Chu, thank you so much. Without your help, we wouldn't have been able to find the culprit. Lung Shaoxi picked up the white jade cup and finished it in one gulp. Chu Li smiled. You don't have to be so courteous, Imperial Crown Prince. I've already received the contract, but Imperial Crown Prince really misunderstood. Miss Yuqing is such a beauty, yet the head chief wants to push her away? Lung Shaoxi asked. Chu Li sighed. One more person means one more worry. With my current situation, I shouldn't involve Miss Yuqing. She's living well in the verdant cloud brothel. I can only trouble Imperial Crown Prince to take care of her. Head Chief, do you think it's dangerous? Lung Shaoxi frowned. Chu Li nodded. Both of you must be careful of assassinations. That Minister Counselor Gu isn't a kind person. Once he realizes that you might have noticed something, I'm afraid he'll make a move. After the incident with Lung Shoujiang, the Imperial Crown Prince's protectors must have increased. There was no need for him to say anything. Since they were here as guests, there was no harm in casually mentioning it. Lung Shaoxi scoffed. These people are so daring. What do you think, Your Royal Highness? Chu Li looked at Prince Bao, who had been silent all this while. Who should be the mastermind behind this? Prince Bao shook his head. I can't say for sure, and I don't want to know either. It's better to keep a distance. I'm just afraid that Your Royal Highness won't be able to hide even if you want to, Chu Li said. I'm sure Your Royal Highness already has a plan. Prince Bao said, Chu Li, you should understand that King Ping's incident is a knot in the Emperor's heart. It's related to the fight for the throne. If you're not careful, you'll be punished with the extermination of your entire family. Chu Li nodded. I understand. He was not afraid, but the High Duke's public house and King An's imperial residence could not be unafraid. Prince Bao said, I've watched King Ping grow up. I know him very well. He's bold and has always been straightforward with the Emperor. He's always said what's on his mind. He's always been disdainful of conspiracies. Chu Li said, Your Royal Highness, you don't think it's King Ping this time. But people change, Prince Bao said, especially when the throne is in front of us. No one can say for sure. Chu Li frowned. If it's not King Ping who can persuade High Duke Ji, Lung Shaoxi said, if it's up to me, I'll just tell the Emperor and see what he's going to do. Prince Bao stared at him, but did not say anything. Chu Li shook his head. It's hard to predict a person's heart. How would the Emperor know that you're sincere? Moreover, Your Royal Highness's identity is too sensitive. The Emperor will think that you have ulterior motives. Lung Shaoxi scoffed. So troublesome. He opened the verdant cloud brothel, firstly for fun, secondly to make friends, and thirdly to find out some secret information to assist his father in his work. However, these were not that tiring. With Prince Bao as his father, everything had been smooth sailing. He had spent too much time and effort on this matter. He felt very weak and powerless, which was an extremely uncomfortable feeling. As the three of them were talking, an old servant came from afar. He was tall and sturdy with white eyebrows and beard. He came closer and bowed. Master, Imperial Crown Prince Shan was attacked by an assassin last night. Attacked by an assassin? Lung Shaoxi frowned. What about him? Imperial Crown Prince Shan is fine. Thanks to the tight security, The old man said in a low voice, I heard that one of the protectors died. The assassin is very powerful and has already escaped. Lung Xiaoxi turned to look at Prince Bao. Father, could it be? Prince Bao looked at Chu Li. I think this case will be handed over to the secret guardians hall. Chu Li frowned and nodded. Lung Xiaoxi laughed coldly. How dare you? Chu Li said, It's best that the imperial crown prince doesn't leave the residence for now. Yes, he will stay in the imperial residence for a while. Prince Bao said in a low voice. Father, Lung Xiaoxi scoffed. They want to silence us. Are we just going to wait here and not retaliate? We can't be impatient. What if it wasn't them? Prince Bao said in a low voice. Lung Xiaoxi frowned. He thought for a while, but did not say anything. Prince Bao said, Chu Li, if this case is handed over to the secret guardians hall, help investigate it. Yes, your royal highness. Chu Li finally closed fists saluted and agreed. Prince Bao held the pot and filled his jade cup. I know it's hard for you, but I can't rest easy if this is handed over to the other people in the secret guardians hall. Chu Li said, I will try my best. Chapter 685. Chu Li, I won't let you fight alone. If you need help, just let me know. Prince Bao said in a low voice. Thank you, your royal highness. Chu Li nodded. Is King Ping in charge of the West Frontier Army now? King Ping is the chief regent, and the marshal, Prince Bao said, an army of 100,000 with high status and power. Who would be willing to let go? Does the emperor not have a foolproof plan? Chu Li shook his head. The emperor is a wise man. How could he end up like this? My brother is wise to others, but he's a mess when it comes to family matters. Otherwise, he wouldn't have ended up like this. Prince Bao sighed. He values family too much, so it's inevitable that he's indecisive. Chu Li nodded slowly. From the looks of it, he had to be more careful when killing King'an. He could not simply do it, or the emperor would go crazy. An enlightened master who went crazy was unimaginably scary, but he would not let the murderer escape. He would not be able to escape his pursuit. Prince Bao said, among the princes, King Ping is the most similar to the emperor. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. From what I know, King Jing seems to have a higher chance of succeeding the throne. King Jing is more intelligent. He's smart and capable in handling affairs. He's not inferior to the emperor. Prince Bao said, the chancellors are in awe of King Jing's talent and character. It can be said that he has the loyalty of the people. King Ping's temperament is more like the emperor's. King Jing is not like the emperor. Chu Li nodded slowly. If that was the case, he would be conflicted on who to choose. One was closer and wanted to succeed the throne, while the other was more suitable. He was a prince that the chancellors respected. If he succeeded the throne, the imperial court would be stable. Prince Bao said, King Ping is stubborn and not good at governance. However, he's talented in commanding troops and fighting wars. He went to the West Frontier first. He rose from a small centurion to a marshal without relying on his influence as a prince. He led an army of 100,000. He's indeed a genius. Chu Li sighed. It's a disaster and not a blessing. That's right. Once King Jing succeeds the throne, how will he deal with his brother? King Ping's prestige in the army is unparalleled. He can command the army with just a word. Will King Jing sleep well? Chu Li said, once King Jing becomes the emperor, won't he become an enlightened master? The emperor is not the only enlightened master. Prince Bao said calmly. Chu Li nodded slowly. If King Ping and the Tempest Temple formed an alliance, it did not matter who succeeded the throne. How could they not get rid of such a real threat? Prince Bao said, the emperor is troubled by this. One has unparalleled prestige in the military, while the other has unparalleled prestige among the courtiers. Whichever one of them succeeds the throne, the other will not have a good ending. This is the most painful thing for the emperor. He is in a dilemma, unable to make up his mind. Didn't the emperor think of this back then? Chu Li frowned. As the emperor, he had to be able to foresee things. He shouldn't allow things to develop like this. His Majesty is soft-hearted. Initially, he wanted to remove King Ping's military power, but every time King Ping submitted a memorial to the emperor, he immediately changed his mind. Prince Bao shook his head and sighed. King Ping's temper is too similar to the emperor's. He will argue with the emperor the moment they meet. Both father and son can quarrel endlessly, but the emperor likes King Ping the most. Chu Li picked up the white jade cup and took a sip. It was said that even an upright official would find it difficult to resolve family matters. Moreover, it was mixed with the matters of the imperial court, so it was not appropriate to get involved. Chu Li returned to King An's imperial residence. As soon as he entered the main door, Chief Zhu welcomed him. Head Chief, your subordinates are waiting. Chu Li arrived at the main hall and saw Dong Qifei pacing back and forth. Yang Zongwen was sitting in the armchair, sipping tea with his eyes closed as if he was enjoying the fragrance of the tea. Centurion! Dong Qifei quickly greeted him. Chu Li waved his hand and sat on the main seat. It's already so late. What can't we talk about tomorrow? Centurion, we can't wait until tomorrow. Dong Qifei quickly said. This time, the Mei courtyard has gone too far. Chu Li looked at Yang Zongwen. Yang Zongwen fist saluted. Centurion, Elder Dong is right. This time, the Mei courtyard has gone too far. They took advantage of the Centurion's absence to snatch the second assassination case and monopolize it. Chu Li frowned. Imperial Crown Prince Shan's assassination case. That's right. Dong Qifei said. They haven't solved the Imperial Crown Prince Zhang's assassination case, but they still have the cheek to snatch the second case. They even said that the two cases are related and combining them would be the best way to solve the case. How shameless! Chu Li waved his hand. Yang Zongwen, when did this happen? 2 hours ago, Yang Zongwen said. The second assassination case was handed over to the Secret Guardians Hall directly. They didn't hand it over to the Fairy's capital magistrate. They were originally going to hand it over to the Mei courtyard, but the Centurion wasn't around. Chun Donghai from the Mei courtyard snatched it away. Chu Li said, Did the commander say anything? The commander didn't agree to it at first. Later, Chun Donghai issued a military order saying that the case must be solved within 3 days. Otherwise, he would be willing to be punished. Dong Qifei said hatefully they must have gotten hold of some clues and were confident that they could snatch this case. They're really despicable. Chu Li waved his hand. Was he really confident? Solve the case in 3 days, Yang Zongwen said. Time is so tight. If he wasn't confident, would he dare to snatch this second case? Dong Qifei said, Centurion, we can't just let this go. If we don't snatch it back, will the Mei courtyard be treated as soft? They'll come and bully us. Yang Zongwen nodded. Centurion, Elder Dong is right. We must snatch it back. Chu Li frowned and scoffed. Forget about this case. We'll just snatch it from them next time. He did not expect the Mei courtyard to be so proactive. They were anxious, but it would be best if they were confident. It was exactly what he wanted. Prince Bao had nothing to say if the case could be solved. It was not that he did not want to accept it, but the Mei courtyard took the opportunity to snatch it away when he was attending the banquet. Seeing that Chu Li was indifferent, Dong Qifei became anxious. Centurion, if the case is solved, it'll be a rank 4 military merit. It's a rank for military merit. Yang Zongwen said slowly. That's why the Mei courtyard is jealous. Dong Qifei said, with a rank for military merit, we don't have to do anything for 2 years, and we'll still be able to eat and drink well. If the rewards are exchanged for silver, we can buy a mansion similar to the Secret Guardian's Hall. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. He was not that sensitive about military merit. As the head chief of the imperial residence and the chief of the High Duke's public house, he never lacked money. He did not lack treasured swords, so he was not concerned. Yang Zongwen said, Centurion, since Chen Donghai is so heartless, we don't have to follow the rules. Just tell the commander that the Mei courtyard will investigate as well. We'll investigate separately and see who can solve the case first. Then we'll return the rewards. That's right, that's right. This time, we'll give them a hard slap in the face. Dong Qifei said hurriedly, let the other courtyards know how powerful the Mei courtyard is, so they won't dare to snatch the merit again. Chu Li said, next time, I'll let it go this time. It was not wise to get into such trouble just for a big mansion. Centurion, Dong Qifei shouted in dissatisfaction. Chu Li waved his hand impatiently. Go, I'm tired too. Don't be an eyesore here. Go do your things. Centurion, it's a rank for military merit. Dong Qifei shouted. Chu Li said, you'll get the merit sooner or later. Go. As he said this, he got up and returned to his courtyard. The next day, he went to the Secret Guardian's Hall. As soon as he arrived, a protector said, Chapter 686, Chu, the commander wants to see you. Update complete. Chu Li nodded closed and went to the main hall. The two commanders. Then closed fist saluted again. Centurion Chen, you look good. Looks like the case is progressing well. Congratulations. Chen Donghai scoffed as he heard the sarcasm in Chu Li's words. Centurion Chu, you're a busy man. You're not around at such a crucial time. You should know that compared to the imperial residence, the matters of the Secret Guardian's Hall are more important. Centurion Chu, please be more attentive and don't confuse your priorities. Fu Mengshan waved his hand. You two should stop talking. Look at the situation, and you're still in the mood to bicker. Chu Li said, Commander, yesterday's assassination was snatched by Mei courtyard again. Isn't this too much? If they can't solve the first case, they'll snatch the second one. They might as well hand over the Secret Guardian's Hall to the Mei courtyard. Why would they need the other courtyards? Su Huanda scoffed. I wanted to hand it over to you. Where are you? Chu Li closed fist saluted and apologized. Commander Su, I'm really sorry. I was busy yesterday and couldn't make it. Chu Li, are you close to Prince Bao? Su Huanda frowned. They knew that Chu Li attended the banquet at Prince Bao's imperial residence yesterday and had a close relationship with him. Chu Li said, I became friends with Prince Bao during the hunting ceremony last time. We've been in contact. That's ridiculous. Keep bragging. Chen Donghai sneered. Prince Bao is an honorable person. How can he be friends with a mere chief like you? Chu Li smiled. I'm the imperial residence's chief, but I'm also the centurion of the Secret Guardian's Hall. No matter how honorable Prince Bao is, he can't underestimate the Secret Guardian's Hall. Hee hee. Fu Mengshan waved his hand and laughed. In Prince Bao's eyes, a centurion is nothing. The Secret Guardian's Hall was his pride, and his status was superior. He was delighted to hear Chu Li's words. Chu Li closed fist saluted and smiled. Chen Donghai glared at Chu Li in disdain. He cursed under his breath. What a bootlicker! Chu Li smiled and said, Centurion Chen, since you've snatched this case and issued a military order for 3 days, I'm sure you found some clues. You're about to get your hands on a rank for army. Humph, there's no need. Chen Donghai said coldly. Chu Li's words were filled with sarcasm and sarcasm, making him feel uncomfortable all over. Chu Li frowned and asked, "Did you discover anything, Centurion Chun?" Fu Mengshan said, "Yes, Xiao Chun, do you have any clues?" Chun Donghai said sternly, "Commander, I suspect that these two assassinations were not carried out by the same group of people. Their martial arts were fundamentally different, and they both used some strange martial arts. It will be very, very difficult to investigate clearly." Chu Li said, "If that's the case, Centurion Chun, you don't have a clue at all. You didn't have a clue about the first case, so when you heard about the second case, you snatched it, hoping to find a clue by comparing the two cases. Unfortunately, you realized that the two cases weren't related to the same person, and there was nothing in common. That's why you still don't have a clue about the two cases, right?" Fu Mengshan frowned and said, "Is that so?" Chen Donghai scoffed. Both of these assassinations were clean and efficient. There was only one assassin in the first assassination, but there were 3 of them in the second. The martial arts they used were all strange and bizarre. I didn't recognize their martial arts. Chu Li nodded and said, "That's why I don't have a clue. It seems like Centurion Chen won't be able to complete this task in 3 days. How do you want to end this? Is it to ask the commander to let you go?" Chun Donghai said, "Commander, I want to borrow 3 people, the Ning brothers." Chu Li laughed. Chun Donghai said, "The Ning brothers' tracking skills are unparalleled in the world. We found some clues at the assassination site. If the Ning brothers were to take action, they would definitely be able to track down those 3 fellas. Catching the murderers is just around the corner." "The Ning brothers?" Fu Mengshan looked at Chu Li. Chu Li said, "The Ning brothers are very busy. They don't have time to help." "Centurion Chu, that's not right." Chen Donghai scoffed. "The Ning brothers are first secret guardians of the Secret Guardians Hall, then people from your May Air courtyard." Chu Li smiled. "Borrowing the Ning brothers is fine, but if this case can be solved, the key is the Ning brothers." "What do you mean?" Chen Donghai sneered. "You want to share the credit?" Chu Li slowly nodded. "Yes, once it's done, 90% of the military credit will belong to our May Air courtyard. 90%. Chen Donghai cried out involuntarily. "Are you crazy? 90%. Chu Li said, "Without the Ning brothers, can you solve this case?" "Who said we can't?" Chen Donghai scoffed. Chu Li nodded. "Then forget it. The Ning brothers are very busy. But with the Ning brothers, it'll be faster," Chen Donghai said. "If we drag this on for too long, the murderers might escape." Chu Li said, "How about this? If you want to use the Ning brothers, then you'll get 90% of the military credit. If you don't, then I won't force you. That's fair, right?" "Fair my ass." Chen Donghai's face darkened. "The one with the surname Chu, you're too greedy. When it comes to greed, who can compare to you, Centurion Chun?" Chu Li said coldly. Fu Mengshan waved his hand and helplessly glared at them. Chu Li said, "Commander, why don't we, the May Air courtyard, also take on this case and compete to see who solves it first and who catches the murderers first? Who gets the military credit? What do you think?" He had already read Fu Mengshan's thoughts. The emperor had actually asked him to solve the second assassination case. He did not know if it was a blessing or a curse to enter the emperor's heart. Since the emperor had spoken, it was impossible for him to refuse. Instead of that, he might as well take the initiative and make a better impression. "If that's the case," Fu Mengshan muttered. Chen Donghai scoffed. "Do you think you can solve it?" Chu Li said, "I know that the May Air courtyard can't solve it. It's up to us to solve this case." Chen Donghai scoffed. "Commander, I've made a military pledge." "Your military pledge is just a gamble," Chu Li said calmly. "Until now. You haven't found any useful clues. What's the use of a military pledge? Fu Mengshan frowned and looked at Chen Donghai. Young Chen, how about this? Let the May Air courtyard investigate as well. 2 courtyards are much better than 1 courtyard. They'll spoil our plan. Chen Donghai said, Commander, I'll say this first. If they really come in and I can't solve the case, don't blame me. Chu Li laughed. You're trying to shirk your responsibility now, giving yourself a way out. Fu Mengshan scoffed. All right, it's decided. Chu Li, the May Air courtyard, will start investigating the 2nd assassination case. Young Chen, don't forget about the 1st case. Chu Li Fist saluted. Thank you, Commander. He read Chen Donghai's thoughts and knew that the May Air courtyard had no clues at all. The so-called military pledge to solve the case in 3 days was just a trick that Chen Donghai used to snatch from the May Air courtyard. Chen Donghai was currently regretting his decision and was trying to shirk it. He kept using words to provoke Chen Donghai, luring him to talk more. He kept reading the scenes that appeared in his mind and clearly knew the clues. The 3 people who assassinated Lung Shoshan were highly skilled in martial arts. They had top-notch body techniques and strange yet powerful fist techniques. They injured a few protectors and killed one of them. The fatal injury of the dead protector was a punch to the chest. The fist force was not strong, but the protector died because the location was just right. Commander, I want to see the protector's corpse, Chu Li said. Fu Mengshan nodded. All right, I'll get someone to bring you there. Chapter 687. Fu Mengshan said, Then let young Chen bring you there. The corpse is in their courtyard. Chu Li turned his head and fist saluted. Centurion Chen, thank you. Chen Donghai looked at him coldly. I've seen the corpse. There are no clues left. Do you think you can conjure something? Chu Li smiled. Everyone has different eyesight. Centurion Chen, you can't do it, but that doesn't mean I can't either. I'll have to see for myself. Chen Donghai scoffed. All right, then I'd like to see what the famous head chief Chu is capable of. Let's go. Both of you, Fu Mengshan said impatiently. Enough is enough. Don't forget the house's rules. If you really cause trouble, no one will have it easy. Chu Li smiled. Centurion, don't worry. We'll just argue. He glanced at Chen Donghai, shook his head, and walked out of the hall. Chen Donghai was extremely annoyed by his gaze. He scoffed coldly. Commander, it's better to get rid of such an arrogant fellow. If you have his ability, I'll definitely get rid of him. Fu Mengshan waved his hand. In the secret guardians hall, those who are capable will be promoted, and those who are mediocre will be demoted. Don't forget about the 3-day limit. If you really can't catch the murderer, you can forget about being a centurion. Yes. Chen Donghai scoffed and turned to leave in large strides. He could feel the commander's favoritism towards Chu Li and knew the reason. This person with the surname Chu was indeed more capable than others. They were all professionals and knew how difficult the cases that Chu Li had solved were. However, his position as the leader of May E Courtyard could not be shaken. He had to risk his life and think of a way to firmly suppress May Air Courtyard. When he came out of the hall, Chu Li was standing with his hands behind his back, looking at the surrounding scenery. He glared at Chu Li, feeling that he was an eyesore. It was fine to wait for someone, but he still put on such a leisurely look. It was awkward no matter how one looked at it. "Follow me," Chen Donghai scoffed. Chu Li walked beside him and said calmly, "Centurion Chen, are you confident? Aren't you afraid that you won't be able to complete the 3-day limit?" "Why not?" Chen Donghai glared at him. Chu Li said, "Can you catch the murderer? What do you think?" Chen Donghai casually snapped off a plum branch. "We can always catch him if we want to." The roadside and crushed it into a ball of powder. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. He opened his hand to let the powder float away. "You dare to do that?" He curled his lips and said, "He only needs to pretend to be confused." Chu Li shook his head. "If something really happens, something will happen sooner or later. Push the blame onto me, and I'll push the blame on my subordinates." Chen Donghai sneered. "It's not a serious crime. You're still very inexperienced to handle a wrong case. Don't think that you can run amok. He'll be transferred to another place. You have some skills. And he'll be transferred back. You're so arrogant after a while that you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. What an eye-opener. You'll have to go deeper. You should know that it's impossible to solve so many cases." You're saying that the commander actually knew about it, as long as you don't wrongly accuse the innocent. Not to know. Those scapegoats deserve to die. They didn't die unjustly at all. Chu Li shook his head. Chen Donghai suddenly stopped and glared at him fiercely. "You understand now? So what if it's a 3-day agreement? Do you really think you can hold me?" Chu Li smiled at him and shook his head. Chen Donghai felt like he had punched a soft spot. He snorted and turned around to continue walking. The two arrived at Mei Yi Courtyard. This courtyard was similar in size and layout to Mei Air Courtyard, but there were more people inside. There were only 13 or 14 people in Mei Air Courtyard, but there were more than 100 people in Mei Yi Courtyard. Every room was occupied, which was completely different from Mei Air Courtyard's emptiness. Centurion, a white-haired old man, greeted him. "How is it? Here, do you recognize this person?" Chen Donghai pointed at Chu Li. "Centurion Chu, bring him to Imperial Crown Prince Shan's protector." "Yes." The old man smiled and said, "Centurion Chu, I'm Zhu Fan. Please follow me." Chen Donghai turned around and strode away, leaving Chu Li on the spot. Chu Li already knew that he would do this. He could not be bothered to get angry. He would just get back at him next time. He gave Zhu Fan a fist salute. "Thank you." Zhu Fan chuckled. "You flatter me. Centurion Chu, you're young and handsome. I admire you very much. Centurion Chu, please don't mind him. Haha, straightforward." Chu Li shook his head and laughed. "Lead the way." Chen Donghai's mind was full of twists and turns. It was completely different from his straightforward personality. Zhu Fan chuckled and led the way. Chu Li stood in front of the middle-aged protector's corpse and frowned. There was only a wound on his chest. It seemed like a coincidence that he was killed in one hit. Chu Li closed his eyes and activated the nature restoration manifestation. The omniscient mirror looked at every inch of the corpse. Bones, muscles, internal organs, limbs, head, hair, and skin. Not a single spot was missed. These laid a solid foundation for the nature restoration manifestation. The first difficulty of the nature restoration manifestation was eyesight. The lower the level of the nature restoration manifestation, the weaker the ability of the 5 senses. The ability to collect information from the outside world would be weaker, and the results of analysis would be less accurate. Chu Li felt that his nature restoration manifestation was a large-scale information analysis and prediction system. To explain it in terms of knowledge from his past life, his brain was like a supercomputer that could analyze and predict the movements of objects. The omniscient mirror was the best information collection system. The more accurate the data, the more accurate the analysis and prediction results. His newly acknowledged master, Shen Su, did not have the omniscient mirror, so the power of the nature restoration manifestation was very weak. The difference in power between the two was like heaven and earth. It was no wonder that the nature restoration peak was declining. The requirements for cultivators were too high. Centurion Zhu Fan called out carefully. Judging from Chu Li's appearance, he seemed to have fallen asleep. He was dozing off beside a corpse. Indeed, geniuses all had unusual behaviors and quirks. Chu Li opened his eyes. His gaze was bright and threatening, but it slowly faded away. He furrowed his brows. Let's go." Chu Li turned and walked out. "Thank you very much. You flatter me," Zhu Fan hurriedly said. "Centurion Chu, did you see anything?" Chu Li nodded. "I learned something." "What?" Zhu Fan asked. Chu Li turned his head to look at him with a faint smile. Zhu Fan hurriedly smiled and said embarrassedly, "Look at me, I'm too impatient. I can't wait to catch the murderer." Chu Li said, "Go back and thank Centurion Chen for me. There's no need to send me off." "I'll send you off," Zhu Fan hurriedly said. Chu Li did not say anything else and strode out. After Zhu Fan sent Chu Li off, he hurriedly returned to the main hall and fist saluted. "Centurion, he's gone." Chen Donghai sat in the armchair and put down his teacup. He lazily scoffed. "How was it?" "He seems to have found some clues," Zhu Fan said. Chen Donghai frowned. "Can he really find anything?" Zhu Fan said. "He couldn't see anything from that punch. Is his eyesight that good?" Chapter 688. Centurion, Zhu Fan hurriedly said, "If we should snatch it, we should. It's a rank for military merit. If we snatch it, everyone will be grateful to us. He has such a big appetite, but he doesn't have the ability to do so." Chen Donghai scoffed. "He even became enemies with this brat. I'll have to be on guard against his plots in the future. It can't be." Zhu Fan said, "Centurion Chu has a good reputation." "Do you think he's a good person?" Chen Donghai said snappily. "Magnanimous? He doesn't look angry," Zhu Fan said. Chen Donghai scoffed. "This kind of guy is too shrewd. How can he tell what's going on? In any case, we have to guard against him. It is quite troublesome." Zhu Fan frowned and said, "If he's a magnanimous person, he would have informed us as soon as he solved the case. Centurion, you'll be fine. If he harbors a grudge, we'll be in big trouble." The Centurion only had two choices in 3 days. The first was to admit defeat, and the second was to find a scapegoat and kill the culprit to silence him. The former would immediately be demoted to the rank of second in command, while the latter would not be punished. Moreover, he would receive a rank for military merit. However, if Chu Li really solved the case and found the real culprit, the Centurion would not only be demoted to second in command, but he would also be demoted to the bottom. If Chu Li wanted to take revenge on the Centurion, even if he caught the culprit, he would cover it up and wait for the Centurion to make his move. If the Centurion wanted to play it safe, he could only admit defeat and demote himself to second-in-chief. However, if Chu Li did not solve the case and was just bluffing, then the Centurion would be so depressed that he would fall ill. Chen Donghai stood up from the armchair and paced back and forth with his hands behind his back. Zhu Fan's eyes followed his movements and also felt that it was very troublesome. Whether or not Chu Li could solve the case was a gamble. If he could not solve it, then there was no point in talking about it. He would not be a threat at all. However, if he could solve the case, then he would have to build a good relationship with him, apologize, and beg for mercy. Chen Donghai spun 12 rounds in one go. Then he gritted his teeth and said hatefully, "Damn it, he's ruthless. Old Zhu, go get 100,000 taels of silver and send it to him." 100,000 taels. Zhu Fan cried out involuntarily. "Centurion, isn't that too much?" Chen Donghai glared at him. "What's the use of giving less? Let's take a gamble, and see if this kid has the ability to take it. What if he didn't solve the case? Find a chance to make him spit it out. Chen Donghai said hatefully. Since he took 100,000 taels, he'll have to spit out 200,000 taels. Centurion, this kid isn't easy to fight, Zhu Fan advised. He took out a few banknotes and handed them over with both hands. Chu Li glanced at Dong Qifei. Dong Qifei took the banknotes and passed them to Chu Li without counting them. Chu Li flipped the banknotes in his hand and smiled. 100,000 taels. Centurion Chun is very generous. Take it as an apology from the Centurion. Zhu Fan gave a fist salute and smiled. I hope Centurion Chu won't decline it. All right, it's hard to decline your kindness. It would be impolite for me to decline Centurion Chen's kindness. Chu Li smiled. Please thank Centurion Chun for me. Yes. Zhu Fan gave a fist salute. I'll take my leave then. Dong Qifei, see him out. Chu Li said. Dong Qifei grinned and chuckled. Elder Zhu, I'll see you out. Zhu Fan smiled and left with Dong Qifei. Chu Li held the 100,000 taels and smiled. He could see through Chen Donghai's intentions at a glance. Other than asking him to be merciful, Chen Donghai was also using the 100,000 taels to provoke him. He wanted to see if Chu Li had the ability to take it for free. Dong Qifei, he called out. Dong Qifei quickly answered. Yes. Come in. Chu Li scoffed. Dong Qifei looked silly, reckless, and impulsive, but he had his moments of enlightenment. After sending Zhu Fan off, he did not enter the main hall and pretended that nothing had happened. Dong Qifei carefully entered the main hall. Chu Li took out a banknote and stuffed it into his pocket. He tossed the rest to Dong Qifei. Take this and share it with everyone. Dong Qifei screamed, and quickly caught the banknotes that were scattered everywhere. His hands moved quickly and caught the banknotes one by one, showing his exquisite skills. None of the 9 banknotes fell to the ground, as they were all caught by him. Chu Li waved his hand. Everyone gets 6,000 taels each. Use the rest to buy some furniture in the courtyard. Do as you see fit. Centurion Dong Qifei hurriedly said, This was given to you by Chen Donghai. How can you accept it? Chu Li could not help but laugh. Little. Yes, sir. Dong Qifei chuckled. 6,000 taels was not a small amount. It was half a year's salary for them. Qin Jin and the others had just returned and did not have any money on them. Moreover, they were old and needed money the most. This 6,000 taels was a timely help to them at home. Soon, 4 middle-aged bodyguards arrived at the gazebo. Their footsteps were as slow as an old man's. 3 of their faces were pale, and one of them was purple. They were breathing with difficulty. Lung Shoshan introduced Chu Li to them, and the 4 of them looked at Chu Li curiously. Chu Li was a legendary figure in the fairies' capital, and they had heard of his name before. They realized that Chu Li was younger than they had imagined, but they did not underestimate him. Although he was young, he was calm and steady, and he had a dignified temperament. Chu Li checked their injuries one by one and took the opportunity to expel the inner energy from their bodies. Their injuries had not been good all this time because their inner strength had not dissipated and could not be dispelled. Even though they had taken the elixirs from the palace, not only had their injuries not been alleviated, they had even worsened. If this continued, only death would await them. Is it possible to find the murderer? Lung Shoshan asked. Chu Li frowned and remained silent. Can they leave now? Lung Shoshan asked. Chu Li nodded. The 4 of them gave Chu Li a fist salute and thanked him for his help. Chu Li watched as they left, then looked at Lung Shoshan. Lung Shoshan hurriedly asked, What is it, Brother Chu? The second person I reached out to was an insider. Chu Li said, Lung Shoshan's face darkened. That's eldest brother Su. He's an elder in the family. Chu Li did not say anything else. Lung Shoshan took a deep breath and said hatefully, he must have been possessed. How dare he betray the imperial residence? Chu Li said, Imperial Crown Prince, don't be in a hurry to make your move. You can take your time to observe and see if he has any intentions of rebelling. Sigh. Lung Shoshan smiled bitterly. I was afraid that I would end up like fifth brother, carefully selecting the most reliable protectors. I never thought, after the Crown Prince was assassinated, he didn't even think about cleaning himself up. Could it be that he has an insider? Chu Li asked. Lung Shoshan shook his head. I've just calmed down. I don't have time to think about that. Chu Li said, the assassins this time are disciples of the Holy Church of Light. Holy Church of Light? It's them again. Lung Shoshan frowned. What are they trying to do? The Holy Church of Light was in an uproar a while ago. They had just calmed down. But now they were back. Chu Li sighed. I want to know what they're trying to do too. I'll go track the assassins first. I'll visit the Crown Prince next time. Lung Shoshan quickly said, the people from the Holy Church of Light are not easy to deal with. Be careful. Chu Li closed fist saluted and smiled. Be careful too, Crown Prince. He glided up to the treetops, stepped on the treetops, and drifted away, disappearing in the blink of an eye. His fingertips swept toward the sword once again. Ah! The sturdy middle-aged man groaned as two of his fingers fell to the ground. Chu Li's manifestation of nature restoration had already predicted this move, and he had secretly prepared for it. The sturdy man loosened his fist. Chu Li immediately lowered the blade of his sword and rotated it 90 degrees. The slightest error could lead to a huge error. When the sturdy middle-aged man twisted his fingers, it wasn't his fingertips that swept the sword, but his knuckles that swept the sword's blade. The modesty sword could cut through iron like it was mud, and it was filled with the inner energy of the cloud, slashing power. Chu Li's two fingers passed through the blade of the sword without any obstruction and landed on the ground soundlessly. His right wrist was bleeding profusely, and two fingers on his left hand were sliced off. However, the sturdy middle-aged man's expression did not change. Instead, his fighting spirit surged. With a ferocious leap, he charged towards Chu Li. Chu Li dodged to the side and scoffed. Who ordered you to do this? The sturdy middle-aged man raised his voice and said, Elder Jiang, you guys leave. I'll cover you. The short and fat middle-aged man, who was leaning against the locust tree's roots, smiled bitterly. The narrow-faced middle-aged man, who was surrounded by the three men, shook his head. They were doomed today and could not leave. He charged forward without a care for his own safety. Feng Jing and the other two men did the same. They used their secret skills to fight against him. Their bodies were covered in injuries, and they charged forward without a care for their own safety. Chu Li said calmly, If you want to die, I'll grant your wish. Don't even think about entering the Western Paradise. If you're alive, you'll still have a chance. Maybe your fellow disciples will come and save you. As soon as he finished speaking, he appeared behind the sturdy middle-aged man and slapped his back with his left hand. Bam! The sturdy middle-aged man flew up and landed under the locust tree's roots, crushing the short and fat middle-aged man. His body was as stiff as a statue. He could only watch helplessly as he fell. His acupuncture point had been sealed by Chu Li's palm. Chu Li took 2 steps forward and stared at the narrow-faced, middle-aged man who was surrounded. He pushed the manifestation of nature restoration to its limit and suddenly shot out a finger. Bam! The narrow-faced, middle-aged man's body stiffened. 2 palms and 1 punch landed on him. He spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was no longer stiff. He ignored his injuries and threw a punch at Feng Jing, wanting to drag one of them down with him. Bam! Chu Li's divine light fist sent him flying. The narrow-faced, middle-aged man flew in the air and suffered another finger force from Chu Li. His acupuncture point was sealed. His stiff body fell under the locust tree's roots and rolled on the ground with the other two men. Chu Li asked, "Elder Qin, are you all right?" Qin Jin shook his head with a grim expression. Chu Li looked at the other three men. "Elder Feng, Elder Zheng, Elder Hua, are you guys all right?" "My old bones won't fall so easily." Feng Jing scoffed and glared at the three men on the ground. He had gone all out just now. He threw punches at each other without dodging. He wanted to see who could withstand it. His body felt like it was falling apart. He was in excruciating pain. His internal organs were injured, and he needed to recuperate for a while. Although he was badly injured, he was filled with pride and joy. Chu Li said, "We have to leave quickly in case we get help." "Yes," Qin Jin quickly said. Chu Li grabbed two men, while Zheng Dongxia snatched the last one. Everyone fluttered back to the secret guardians' hall and went straight to the main hall. Chu Li did not say a word along the way. His mind was racing. Qin Jin and the other three men knew not to disturb him. After taking 100,000 taels of silver from Chen Donghai, it was not appropriate for him to use any tricks. Moreover, this matter was urgent. Even if Chen Donghai did not give him 100,000 taels of silver, he would not deliberately delay it. When Chu Li arrived at the main hall, he waved his hand and said, "Go back and recuperate." "Yes, Centurion." Qin Jin and the other three men fist saluted and left. Fu Mengshan and Su Huanda were sitting in the main hall. "These are the murderers?" Fu Mengshan pointed at the three men. Chu Li said, "Disciples of the Holy Church of Light." "Good boy, so fast." Fu Mengshan slapped the armrest of the armchair and chuckled. "I didn't entrust the wrong person after all." Chu Li smiled. "Commander, I can't smile anymore after getting a confession. What happened?" Su Huanda frowned. Chu Li said they were instructed by the minister-counselor of the Ministry of War, Gu Qi. The smile on Fu Mengshan's face froze. Su Huanda's expression darkened too. This was no small matter. The minister-counselor of the Ministry of War and the Holy Church of Light had already caused trouble once. Now, it was happening again. Could it be fake again? It would be fine if it was fake, but if it was real, then the world would be turned upside down. The nature restoration manifestation made Chu Li's mind sharper and faster. On the way back, he had already deduced most of the matter. He realized that it was a false alarm, but it was no small matter. He took a deep breath and said, "Actually, I've secretly investigated the murderer of the first assassination case. It was instructed by the Deputy General under King Ping. If that's the case, the two assassination cases are not related." Fu Mengshan nodded. Chu Li shook his head. Chapter 691. He returned to the May Air courtyard and pondered with a frown. He had to inform Prince Bao and Prince Kong about this in advance, lest they react passively and end up in a bad situation with the emperor. Thus, he wrote 2 letters and sent them to Lung Xiaoxi and Lung Shoshan, respectively. He then asked Ning Buyuan and Ning Zhongyuan to deliver them separately. After doing all this, he sat in the living room, frowning and deep in thought as he waited for news from Fu Mengshan. He was worried that he might have to meet the emperor this time. Almost no one knew what kind of divine ability a heavenly god expert had. Could he see through them and see through their divine abilities? Life and death scripture, omniscient mirror, and even God's limbs? He instinctively rejected the feeling of being seen through. However, he would not be able to pass the test of meeting the emperor. How could such an important matter be decided so casually. Of course, he had to ask him, the person who had handled the matter, in detail to determine whether it was true or false before making a decision. The emperor's decision often concerned the fate of thousands of people, so he couldn't be too careful. Once he gave the order, he had no choice but to obey. At this moment, he had a strong desire to become a heavenly god. He did not want to live a life where his fate was not in his control anymore. He wanted to truly be free. 2 hours later, through the omniscient mirror, he saw that Fu Mengshan had returned to the main hall of the secret guardian's hall with a ghastly expression. When he arrived at the hall, Fu Mengshan was drinking tea nonstop with a gloomy look on his face. He had always been cheerful and amiable like a Maitreya Buddha. This kind of expression was very rare. Chu Li gave a fist salute. "Commander, have you met the emperor?" "The emperor is in seclusion," Fu Mengshan scoffed. Chu Li turned to look at Su Huanda. Su Huanda shook his head and said, "The emperor is in seclusion. The commander has been waiting outside for a long time and insisted on seeing the emperor. The chief of the imperial house refused, so he didn't get to see the emperor." Chu Li frowned and looked at Fu Mengshan. Fu Mengshan said in annoyance, "Of course I said it's an extremely urgent matter, but it's useless. The emperor is in closed-door training and refuses to see anyone." "How long will you be in isolated cultivation?" Chu Li hurriedly asked. Fu Mengshan said, "This is a highly confidential matter. Why would the chief of the imperial house tell us?" Chu Li frowned and said, "In that case, we can only assume that the emperor won't come out of isolated cultivation. I think their target is King Ping." Now that the Holy Church of Light was involved, Chu Li felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted off his shoulders. With a plan in mind, he could connect the dots and combine it with the current situation of the world. Chapter 692. P.S. Update complete. Chu Li said, "If that's the case, King Ping is in danger." "Yes." Fu Mengshan nodded solemnly. "If he doesn't know that the deputy general beside him is a spy and acts rashly, he'll easily fall into a trap and be surrounded. That's why we have to pass this news to King Ping as soon as possible." Chu Li said, "Isn't the secret guardian's hall the fastest way to transmit information?" "The fastest way is to use the golden eagle." Fu Mengshan frowned. "The problem is that King Ping might not believe it, and our people can't get close to him." Su Huanda said, "Once the Shijiang military takes action, it'll be even harder to find King Ping." "Let me do it," Chu Li said. Fu Mengshan smiled. "Young Chu, your light body technique is the best, and your status is high enough. It's best if you do it." Chu Li said, "I need a token that can win King N's trust. I have a gold medal. If you show it, King Ping will definitely meet you." "I also need King Ping's personal belongings," Chu Li said. "I'll think of a way," Fu Mengshan said. Chu Li said, "All right, I'll find King Ping and tell him to be careful of that deputy general." "That's the best." Fu Mengshan smiled. Chu Li fist saluted. "I'll return to the imperial residence to make some arrangements. Commander, let me know when you're ready. Come as soon as possible." Fu Mengshan said, "We can't delay any longer. This delay might decide King Ping's life or death." Chu Li nodded. Chu Li first returned to the imperial residence and changed his clothes. He took off the white robe that he had been wearing and changed into a purple robe. Suddenly, he looked a little more noble. At first glance, one could tell that he was either rich or noble. When he returned to the main hall of the secret guardian's hall, Fu Mengshan and Su Huanda were already waiting there. "This is King Ping's thumb ring." Fu Mengshan took out a white jade thumb ring and handed it to Chu Li. "It took me a lot of effort to get this. Be careful, don't lose it." Chu Li looked at it and smiled. "It's an exquisite item. Commander, are you returning it?" Of course, Fu Mengshan said. Otherwise our secret guardians will be exposed. King Ping is very sensitive about this. Once the secret guardians are exposed, we'll completely lose control of King Ping's imperial residence. The secret guardians hall can't afford to miss any part of their network, even if it's King Ping's imperial residence. Chu Li nodded and took the white jade thumb ring. It was indeed not an ordinary item. It was made of the best jade, and after being nourished for a long time, it had a bit of spiritual energy. He put it on his left index finger, and it fit perfectly, as if it had been made for him. Chu Li touched it. It felt good. Fu Mengshan took out a purple gold plate from his bosom. It was about the size of a palm and was octagonal in shape. Both sides of the plate were carved with a short sword. Fu Mengshan smiled and said, "Let's see if he can meet King Ping." Chu Li used the white jade ring to perform the all-seeing divine power and God's limbs. In a quarter of an hour, he rushed from Fairy's capital to western border. He stood at the peak of a mountain and looked around. In front of him was a military camp that stretched as far as the eye could see. There was a sea of people, and flags fluttered in the wind, covering the sky. An army of 100,000 sounded like nothing, but one would only understand how many people there were, and how imposing they were when they saw it with their own eyes. Within the range of his omniscient mirror, it was all densely packed with soldiers. The military camp that these soldiers were in was neatly arranged, built according to battle formation. No matter how powerful a martial arts master was, he would definitely die if he barged into such a military camp. First of all, he would get lost and lose his sense of direction. Second, there were masters everywhere in the military camp. Chu Li carefully looked at these soldiers. Most of them were acquired masters. 1 in 10 was an innate master, and 1 in 1,000 was a grandmaster. If they were in the martial arts world, these grandmasters were enough to wipe out any sect. Apart from the 4 major sects, no one could stop them. How could King Ping be willing to give up such a huge force? How could King Jing sleep in peace? The emperor was in a dilemma. He observed for a long time with rapt attention and discovered a secret. The camp was built with traces of a formation, so it should be a military formation. When he was reading the Book of Formations, he happened to see the military formation technique mentioned in the book. The principle was similar, but it was not the same as formations. After observing it, he deeply agreed with it. Formations used natural objects as tools to form a unique world and drive the energy of heaven and earth. On the other hand, a military formation used people as tools. Through the standing of people, a strange force between heaven and earth could be triggered and driven. He did not know the power of a military formation, but through the omniscient mirror, he could faintly feel that even a grandmaster would not be able to do well in a military formation. It would be difficult for them to even protect themselves, let alone assassinate them. This military camp could hide King Ping in it through the military formation technique. He could not find him even through the omniscient mirror. He circled the military camp a few times and walked more than 100 miles, but he still could not find King Ping. In this case, it was impossible for him to directly appear in front of King Ping with his divine power. He could only use the stupid method. Fortunately, King Ping did not send his troops. It seemed to be very quiet here, unlike what the Ministry of War's military report described, where swords were drawn and blood was shed. He did not know what was going on, but he did not want to ask. He only wanted to see King Ping as soon as possible and tell him that there was a spy around King Ping. As for the rest, he would let King Ping deal with it himself. He was an expert in commanding troops, so he was naturally proficient in strategy. He waited patiently from afternoon until night, then from night until the next morning. Suddenly, he felt refreshed and appeared in front of 4 cavalrymen. They were 4 scouts who rode out to gather information. When they returned, they saw Chuli neigh. The horses neighed softly and stopped. Chuli fist saluted. The 4 scouts stared at him vigilantly. Their bodies were tense. They were all grandmasters. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.